Hey everyone, tonight we're diving deep into the dust of Central Asia, to a time when empires were more like suggestions, and the Silk Road wasn't a single route but 1,000 dangerous threads. We're looking for a ghost, a woman whose name we don't even know, but whose life was spent stitching those threads together. Imagine a place where the gods of Olympus are neighbors with the spirits of the steppe, and the air smells like Greek olive oil and Indian spices. You are standing in the center of it, at a crossroads of the world. You see the sharp, terrifying purple of the Hindu Kush mountains, capped with snow even in the searing summer. Below, on the flat plains where two rivers meet, sits a city of pure white stone. This is Ai-Khanoum, the Lady Moon in the local tongue, and it is your home. It's a glittering, impossible mirage of Greek culture, thousands of miles from the Mediterranean. You walk past a gymnasium where athletes train in the nude, just as they did in Athens, their sweaty bodies gleaming under the Central Asian sun. You hear the sharp arguments of philosophers in the agora, debating Plato. But this isn't Greece. This is Bactria, what is now northern Afghanistan. And honestly, given the political instability, the questionable sanitation, and the sheer number of warring factions just waiting for a sign of weakness, you probably wouldn't survive this for more than a week. It was a tough neighborhood with a very fancy facade, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I always find it fascinating to see where everyone is tuning in from, so drop your city and, if you feel like it, your local time in the comments. It's a nice reminder that while we're talking about the deep past, we're all connected in this present moment. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are born into the 1% of the 1%. Your nursery isn't just a room, it's a statement. The walls are painted in bright frescoes, copies of famous scenes from Greek myths, Theseus and the Minotaur perhaps, or Leda and the Swan, but the pigments aren't Greek. The vibrant blue is lapis lazuli, hauled from the mines just up the river. The deep red is from the shell of an insect found only in the steppe. Your cradle is carved from local cedar, but inlaid with Indian ivory. Even your first breaths are a blend of worlds. You are a princess of the Greco-Bactrian kingdom, a line of stubborn Hellenistic kings who carved this empire out of the remnants of Alexander the Great's conquests. Your father rules this city, and by extension, a chunk of territory that is perpetually under threat. You learn early that luxury is just another word for barrier. The wealth of your family, displayed in the Corinthian columns of your palace and the sheer size of the treasury, is what keeps the nomadic tribes from swarming the gates. It pays for the mercenary soldiers, the fortified walls, and the endless, exhausting diplomacy. Your childhood is defined by this strange paradox. You live in a gilded cage. You are taught to read and write in flawless, Koine Greek. Your tutors have you memorize long passages of Homer, and you attend plays in the city's massive theater, the largest in the entire Greek East, big enough to seat 6,000 people. You watch Medea under a sky so vast and clear it feels like a different universe from the smoggy, damp world of Athens. But this isn't just a carbon copy of Greece. It's something new, something weirder. Historians still argue whether Ai-Khanoum was a true Greek polis, a self-governing city-state with all the proper democratic trimmings, or if it was just a massive, heavily armed military garrison that happened to build a theater. For you, it's just home. You see your father's administrators using an inkwell found in the treasury, shaped like a small, bound barbarian, a subtle, constant reminder of who is civilized and who is not. Yet, on your way to the Temple of Zeus, you pass a smaller shrine where your Bactrian servants leave offerings of milk and honey for a local river god. Your father, for all his Greek posturing, makes sure to fund that shrine too. He's not stupid. You learn that your city is a fragile bubble. The gymnasium wasn't just for building epic muscles, though there was probably plenty of that. It was an indoctrination center for being Greek. Young Bactrian nobles would learn alongside the sons of Greek settlers, all of them training to be part of the elite. But the real education happens in the palace. While your brothers learn strategy and warfare, you are taught the intricate dance of diplomacy. You learn to recognize the different grades of silk that arrive with the caravans. You learn which jewels come from the south, and which nomadic tribe from the north favors a specific type of bronze work. This is not idle chatter for you. It's your homework. One of your tutors, a man from Athens whose family lost everything in a political shuffle back home, shows you a prized possession. It's a fragment of papyrus, barely legible, which he keeps in a wooden box. It is, he claims, a piece of a lost dialogue by Aristotle, a philosophical treatise copied and carried over 3,000 miles. That is the kind of place you live in, a city so obsessed with its own Greek heritage that it imports philosophy into the middle of a war zone. This artifact was actually found by archaeologists in the 20th century, a real fragment of a philosophical text, just sitting there in the ruins of a Bactrian palace, a little reminder that these people were serious about their book club. But you know the books aren't the whole story. From the high balconies of the palace, you look out over the walls. To the east, the Oxus River, a wide, muddy, powerful god of water. To the west, the Kokcha River. Your city sits right on the confluence, a strategic strong point. And beyond, in every direction, the dust, the steppe, the other. The people your father calls barbarians, but who he also pays handsomely for the thousands of horses his cavalry needs. You grow up with the sound of Greek tragedies in your ears, the smell of sandalwood from a merchant's stall in your nose, and the constant thrumming vibration of the unknown just beyond the perimeter. You are a Bactrian princess, yes, but you are also a frontier girl. You know that the stone walls are thick, but the world outside is infinitely larger. That dust you're staring at isn't just dust, it's a curtain, and behind it are the neighbors. Your tutor, a quiet man named Theophilus, joins you on the balcony, his robes smelling faintly of parchment and old sweat. He doesn't carry a book. He carries a map, or what passes for one. It's a roll of cured antelope hide, and when he unrolls it, you don't see a neat grid of lines and borders. You see a spiderweb of river systems, trade routes marked in charcoal and ominous blank spaces painted with stylized storm clouds. This, he says, is the world. It's not a map of what is, but a map of who wants. It's a map of broken empires and bad intentions. He points west back toward the Mediterranean, though the sea itself is a fairy tale to you. Here, he taps, is the nest we flew from. He means the Seleucid Empire. This is the first and most important lesson. Your kingdom is a rebel state. Your great-grandfather, a governor named Diodotus, looked at the crumbling power of his Seleucid king, who was busy fighting wars in Syria, and basically decided to change the locks. He declared Bactria independent. This is a massive mainstream historical fact that defines your entire existence. Your kingdom was born from ambition and opportunity. The Seleucids, your distant Greek cousins, are still technically out there, but they are a mess. They are like a once great dynasty now reduced to selling off the family silver and arguing over who gets the good parking spot. They are not the threat. They are the vacuum. And into that vacuum, a new power is creeping, also from the west. Theophilus draws a rough circle around a territory south of the Caspian Sea. The Parthians, he whispers. And you know this is the name that gives your father headaches. They are the new kids on the block, a tribe of nomadic horsemen who decided they liked cities and taxes after all. They are sharp, ambitious, and they are starting to dress like Greeks, which is always a bad sign. It means they want to replace you, not just trade with you. They are consolidating power in Persia, and they look at your wealthy, isolated kingdom as the next logical acquisition. Then Theophilus gestures north, to the vast, empty-looking expanse beyond the Oxus River. The steppe, he says. The Saka. The Uaji. To you, these are just names for the barbarians who sell you horses and occasionally try to burn down your northern trading posts. This is where the real, immediate danger lives. The philosophers in the Agora can debate the noble savage, but you've seen the refugee columns after a raid. This northern frontier is a constant screaming headache. Historians still argue whether the Greco-Bactrian border with the steppe was a hard frontier, like the future walls of Rome, or a soft, porous membrane. You know the truth. It's a joke. It's a river, and people cross rivers. Your father maintains a network of friendships with the nearest clans, which is a polite way of saying he pays them protection money. This leads to some truly weird diplomacy. You once saw a manifest for a diplomatic gift to a Scythian chieftain, It included 30 suits of Greek-style bronze armor, 50 amphorae of wine from your city's vineyards, and bafflingly, 2 silver cages filled with bright yellow songbirds from India. You have no idea what a horsearcher warlord is supposed to do with songbirds, but apparently, it worked. The raid stopped for a season. This is the kind of bizarre, high-stakes negotiation that keeps your kingdom alive. It's not about grand armies. It's about knowing exactly which oddity will buy you another 6 months of peace. Finally, your tutor points east and south toward the towering peaks of the Hindu Kush. India. This is the golden goose. This is the source. The Mauryan Empire, which had been a massive unifying power to the south, has also fractured. But the trade routes are still open. From here you get the ivory that inlays your furniture, the vibrant dyes for your silks, the spices that make the palace kitchens smell like paradise, and the unsettling, powerful new philosophies that are making their way into the temples. You've seen statues of the Buddha being carved by Greek artisans, and he's starting to look suspiciously like Apollo, complete with a toga. This fusion is happening right in your backyard. You stand there, a teenager in a silk chiton, and you finally understand. You are not the center of the world. You are the glittering prize, sitting on the world's most dangerous fault line. Ai-Khanoum isn't a fortress. It's a bank vault with a flimsy lock parked in the middle of a war zone. Your family's kingdom is a tiny, wealthy, and very flammable raft floating between these massive, hungry powers. The Seleucids are a dying giant. The Parthians are a rising predator. The nomads are a chaotic force of nature. And India is the treasure chest everyone is trying to loot. This map, this web of dangers and appetites, is your true inheritance. The poetry of Homer is a comfort, but this geography is survival. You look back at the white stone of the city, the gymnasium, the theater. It all seems so breakable. That feeling of breakability doesn't go away. It just becomes the new normal. Your life in Ai-Khanoum is one of profound cognitive dissonance. In the morning, you are a good Greek girl. Your tutors, Theophilus and a stern woman from Sparta named Caniska, drill you in the classics. You read the Odyssey and privately think Odysseus had it easy. At least all his monsters were in one place. Your education is top-tier Hellenistic, focused on rhetoric, logic, and philosophy. You are taught to dissect arguments, to find the flaw in a statement. You spend weeks on Aristotle's politics, specifically his theories on the barbarian mind. He argues, quite convincingly if you're reading him in a comfortable chair in Athens, that non-Greeks are fundamentally different, driven by passion rather than reason, and are thus suited for slavery. You read this and then you look out your window at the Bactrian stablemaster, a man who speaks 3 languages, can predict the weather by the ache in his knee, and runs a complex logistical operation that keeps the king's cavalry supplied. You suspect he has more practical reason in his left pinky than your tutor Theophilus has in his entire scroll-addled head. But you learn the argument. You learn to make it flawlessly in your most persuasive Greek. This is the first lesson of your education. Learning to master a system you know is built on a lie. It's a useful skill, it turns out. But your education isn't just Greek. This is the part that your father's more conservative Greek settler friends find a bit concerning. Your mother, a Bactrian noblewoman from a family that long predates Alexander's arrival, has insisted. So in the afternoons, Caniska is dismissed and an old man with a beard dyed rusted with henna comes in. He is a magus, a Zoroastrian priest, and he smells like burnt sandalwood. He doesn't teach you from scrolls. He teaches you from hymns, the Gathas, recited from memory in an ancient language that sounds like wind over stones. He teaches you that the world is not a chaotic mess of competing gods as the Greeks believe. It is a single, cosmic battle between Ahura Mazda, the Lord of Light and Truth, and Ahriman, the Lord of the Lie and Darkness. Your job, he explains, is to perform good works, good thoughts, and good deeds to strengthen the side of light. Fire is not a god, but a symbol of that light, a window into the divine. This, you find, makes a lot more sense than Aristotle. It's clean, it's practical. In the harsh, high-altitude light of Bactria, this dualism feels right. Historians still argue whether the Greeks of Bactria truly adopted local Zoroastrian and other beliefs, or if they just paid lip service to them for political stability. But for you, it's not a debate. It's your life. You are learning two different operating systems for the mind, the Greek system of logic and the Bactrian system of truth. This is where your real education begins, in the space between these two worlds. This is the silk and steel part. Your father, a man who sees your sharp, quiet mind, decides not to waste it. You are invited to sit in on his economic councils, ostensibly to learn household management. This is the royal equivalent of a bring your daughter to work day. But the work is deadly serious. You are presented with the caravan reports. These are not just boring manifests. They are the kingdom's private intelligence feed. You learn to analyze the gossip brought by the Sogdian merchants, the men who actually braved the routes north and east. You learn that silk and steel are the same thing. A caravan arrives from the Tarim Basin, and the head merchant reports that the silk is of a slightly coarser weave. Your father's trade minister dismisses it. You, having listened to your Bactrian attendants, ask if the weave is stiff. The merchant's eyes widen. You know that this specific weave is used for nomadic battle standards. Coarser, stiffer silk means a new warlord is rising, one rich enough to buy silk in bulk to outfit his new army. You just learned of a major military threat from a fashion critique. This is your new superpower. You learn the fringe, quirky side of espionage. Your agents aren't spies in cloaks, they are musicians and potters. One of the best pieces of intelligence your father gets comes from a traveling lute player who reports that the new songs being sung in the Saka camps to the north are all about a wolf mother and a lost prince. This isn't just folklore, it's propaganda. It means someone is trying to unite the clans under a new mythic banner. This is a light joke about your education being 50% philosophy and 50% TMZ, Barbarian Edition. You're not just a princess, you're the kingdom's chief data analyst. You cross-reference the lute player's rumor with a report from a grain merchant on the Oxus, who says that a certain minor chieftain just bought 1,000 arrowheads, paying in rare golden eagles. The map your tutor showed you, the one with the storm clouds? You're now the one drawing it, you're the one connecting the dots. The steel of the arrowheads, the silk of the battle standards, the hymns of the priest, the logic of the Greeks. It all swirls together in your mind. You are becoming something new. You are not just Greek. You are not just Bactrian. You are a creature of the crossroads, a product of this fragile, glittering, and hopelessly doomed city. Your normal shatters on a Tuesday, or at least in your memory it's a Tuesday. You're in a lesson with Theophilus, who is passionately explaining a fine point of Stoic philosophy. How a true philosopher remains placid and unmoved by external events. You're finding it difficult to remain placid as the summer heat has made the library smell like old glue and even older linen. You're distracted, watching a column of ants carry a dead moth across the mosaic floor when you hear it. It's not a sound you've ever heard before, not really. It's not the clean clop of your father's cavalry on the paved streets. It's a sound like thunder, but low and rhythmic and wrong. It's the sound of the earth itself, vibrating under the weight of thousands, tens of thousands of unshod horses, hoofbeats on the horizon. Before Theophilus can even clear his throat to admonish you for your lack of focus, a guard bursts in, his bronze cuirass undone, his face pale with dust and terror. He doesn't bow. He doesn't use the proper titles. He just gasps. They're through. They've crossed the Oxus. The northern garrisons. They're just gone. The abstract is now brutally real. The storm clouds on your tutor's map have broken, and it is a storm of flesh and horses. This is the great nomadic invasion that will in time erase your kingdom from history. The stability of your youth doesn't just fracture, it explodes. The first wave of refugees is a pitiful sight. Farmers from the riverlands, their faces scorched by the sun and the flames of their own burning villages. They pour into Iconium, and the city, once so proud and spacious, becomes a crowded, stinking refugee camp overnight. They bring stories that make your blood run cold. They talk about an enemy that doesn't fight. They hunt. They are a tide of horse archers, men and women who seem born in the saddle. They fire arrows with terrifying accuracy from composite bows that your own soldiers can't even draw. Their tactic is a nightmare for your father's Greek-style phalanx. The nomads ride in screaming, fire a cloud of arrows that blot out the sun, and then, just as your father's heavy infantry prepares to receive their charge, they turn and flee. This is the feigned retreat. Your soldiers, trained in the honorable tradition of pushing shields against shields, break formation and charge in what they think is a rout, and the moment they are disordered, the moment their lines are broken, the nomads turn on a dime, surround the scattered, confused infantry, and annihilate them. It's like watching a pack of wolves take down a bison. Your father's army, so perfect for fighting other Greeks, is about as useful as a very expensive, very shiny debating society. This is the great historical tide. What you don't know, what your spies couldn't tell you, is that these invaders, the Yuezhi, are running from someone else. Far to the east, in the lands that will one day be China, another, even more terrifying nomadic confederation, the Xiongnu, had defeated them, killed their king, and in a bit of gruesome flair, turned his skull into a drinking cup. So the Yuezhi are not just invading, they are migrating. They are not here to raid your treasury and leave. They are here to find a new home, and they've decided they like yours. Historians still argue whether this was one great tidal wave, a single Yuezhi horde that swept everything away, or a more complex, chaotic process of 100 different raids by Saka, Yuezhi, and other groups over decades. For you, living in the palace, that distinction is meaningless. All you know is that the barbarians your philosophers dismissed as slaves by nature are currently and systematically dismantling your entire world. The buffer zones are gone. The client tribes that your father paid off, remember those songbirds, have either joined the invaders or been slaughtered. The trade routes. Well, the only thing coming down the trade routes now is panic. You find a strange artifact in the agora, dropped by a fleeing refugee. It's a bronze whistling arrow, a steppe invention. The arrowhead is perforated with small holes, so that when it flies, it shrieks. Imagine 1,000 of those, a sky full of screaming death. It's a fringe tidbit, a piece of psychological warfare so effective it's almost art. It's designed to terrify horses and break the morale of men. It works. You walk through the palace. The halls, once so quiet and calm, are now filled with shouting strategoi, weeping servants, and messengers caked in blood. Your father is in the throne room, staring at your map, the one you so carefully drew. It's useless. The red ink of his defenses is being washed away. The gilded cage of Iconium has lost all its gilding. The walls are still thick, but for the first time, you are truly, deeply afraid. The world is ending, and all your books on philosophy haven't given you a single useful answer. You realize in a moment of cold, terrifying clarity that your father's kingdom is dying, and someone is going to have to pay the price to save what's left of it. The panic has a sound. It's a high, whining hum, like a wasp trapped in a jar, and it has replaced the civilized sounds of philosophical debate and marketplace bartering. Your palace, once a sanctuary of calm, is now a frantic intersection of bad news. The gymnasium is a field hospital. The agora is a tent city choked with the smoke of 1,000 cooking fires, and the theater is, well, no one has time for Medea when a real-life tragedy is unfolding in glorious widescreen detail. Your father, King Eucratides, or perhaps he's Menander, the names of these late Bactrian kings are a notoriously jumbled mess for historians, is a shell of the man who once taught you to read caravan reports. His generals are divided. Some want to ride out in a final blaze of glory, a tactic you're pretty sure is just a very dramatic form of suicide. Others want to hole up, melt down the gold statues from the Temple of Zeus, and try to buy off the invaders. Your father has tried everything. The army is broken. Diplomacy is useless. You can't negotiate with a tidal wave. This is when people turn to the gods. But the bright, rational, daylight gods of Olympus seem very far away. Zeus, with his thunderbolts, has been conspicuously silent. Theophilus, your philosophy tutor, would tell you to look inward, to find your apatheia, and remain placid as a wave of arrows blots out the sun, which is just a very Greek way of saying don't bother running. You decide that is unhelpful. It is your mother, the Bactrian noblewoman, who suggests the alternative, not the grand white marble Greek temple. She takes you by the hand and leads you out of the palace, not as a princess but as a woman. You walk, hooded, through the chaotic city. She is taking you to the other temple. It's the one the Greeks never really adopted but were smart enough to leave alone. It's a low, dark building of mud brick and ancient, smoke-stained timber, tucked away behind the arsenal. It might be dedicated to a version of Anahita, the Persian Bactrian goddess of the waters, or perhaps some even older, nameless spirit of the river. The air inside is thick. It doesn't smell like the clean, expensive frankincense the Greeks use. It smells like juniper, burning yak butter, and something metallic like old blood. There are no beautiful, idealized statues of the divine. There is just a deep, water-filled cistern in the center of the floor and an old woman sitting beside it. She is the oracle, the priestess, the Shirzan. She is blind in one eye, and her face is a roadmap of wrinkles. She's not here to make you feel better. She's here to charge you for the smoke inhalation. Your mother pushes you forward. You, a princess of the Hellenistic world, trained in logic and rhetoric, feel profoundly ridiculous and absolutely terrified. You ask the question that is choking your city. Will we survive? Will Iconium be saved? The old woman doesn't answer. She doesn't inhale fumes or go into a wild trance. She performs a much quieter and frankly weirder ritual. This is hydromancy, a fringe bit of divination that was ancient long before your ancestors ever heard of Bactria. She takes a bronze bowl, a plain one, not the fancy Greek kind, and fills it with water from the cistern. Water, she mutters, that is fed by the Oxus itself. Then she takes a small vial of black, viscous oil and lets one drop fall into the water. She stares unblinking at the patterns the oil makes as it spreads. It looks like a cloud, then a horse, then a skull. You're about to dismiss this as nonsense, a party trick for a dying world, when she finally speaks. Her voice is a dry rasp. The stone is already dead, she says, not even looking at you. The fire is lit. The city will fall. Your father's line ends. A cold so profound it burns races up your spine. This isn't a prophecy, it's a death certificate. No, you whisper, there must be. What can I do? The priestess lets another drop of oil fall. This one spreads like a spider web, the threads pushing out. The stone is dead, she repeats, but the blood is not. The rivers are in flood, the old banks are broken. The city does not matter. She traces a line in the water with her fingernail. You are the thread. What does that mean? You plead. She finally looks at you, her one good eye seeming to pin you to the smoky wall. You will be the thread, she says, that unites the 5 rivers. You will bind the wolf to the eagle. You will carry the water of the Oxus to the sand of the desert. Go. You are ushered out back into the dying afternoon. You feel worse than before. The stone is already dead. This is the historical fact you are now living. Archaeologists, digging through your home centuries from now, will find a thick, uniform layer of ash and charcoal. They will find the arsenal, filled with thousands of arrowheads all burned in situ. They will find the treasury, looted and burned. The city will fall. Historians still argue whether the Greco-Bactrian kings abandoned their cities like Iconium in a panic, or if it was a calculated, orderly retreat to new capitals in the south. But you just got the real story. It's a panic. It's an end. And you've been given a nonsensical, poetic job description. Unite 5 rivers with one thread. What rivers? The Oxus, the Kokcha, the Indus, the Jaxartes. And what thread? Silk? A bloodline? It's the classic oracle move, like a modern-day weather forecast. It might rain or it might be sunny. That'll be 50 drachmas. You return to the palace, the smell of juniper smoke clinging to your hair, with the most terrible, confusing warning. Your home is gone. Your future is a riddle. The prophecy hangs on you like a wet, heavy wool cloak. The stone is already dead. You return to the palace and you see the truth of it everywhere. The guards on the walls are no longer standing at sharp attention. They are slumped, watching, waiting. The arguments in the throne room have stopped. The silence that has replaced them is so much worse. It's the silence of the abattoir. The cold, flat quiet of people who have run out of options and are simply waiting for the axe to fall. The vibration of the hoofbeats has stopped. Now, they are just out there. A ring of felt, fur, and steel, camped just beyond the range of your father's catapults, which have all fallen silent. You are summoned to your father's private study. The air is stale. The remnants of a meal, bread, cheese, and olives gone gray, sit untouched on a silver tray. Your father is there, along with your two remaining brothers and his chief general, a man whose face is a roadmap of scar tissue. They all look exhausted, but something has changed. The fear is gone, replaced by a terrible cold resolve. They have, you realize, made a decision. They sent an envoy, your father says, his voice flat. He doesn't look at you. He's looking at a spot on the wall just past your shoulder, under a white flag. A merchant. A Sogdian. You know what this means. A merchant envoy isn't a diplomat. It's a broker. He's not here to discuss terms of honor, he's here to liquidate an asset. And your kingdom is the asset. The warlord is a man named Sapad Bizez, the general says, stumbling over the guttural foreign name. He is the chief of the Ashi, the strongest of the Yuezhi clans. He is reasonable. You feel a cold prickle. Reasonable is the last word you'd use for the man who just burned your entire northern border to the ground. He does not want to destroy the city, your father continues, still not looking at you. He is not a savage. He admires it. He wants to possess it. He wants to be a king, not a raider. And what does he want? You ask, your voice sounding small in the heavy room. This is it. The unwanted bargain. Your father finally meets your eyes. His are dead. He wants the city, its walls, its arsenal, and its treasury. In exchange, he will not slaughter the populace. He will not burn the temples. He will absorb us. The fighting stops. It sounds too good to be true. And it is. But your father says, a change of ownership requires a gesture of continuity, of legitimacy. He is a nomad. He knows he cannot rule Greeks. Not alone. He needs a Greek queen, you say? It's not a question. The room is silent. The general studies his boots. Your brothers, who once teased you for reading too many scrolls, look at you with a new, horrifying mix of pity and relief. You are the answer. You are the ransom. He saw you, your father whispers. During the festival of the New Year, on the walls, he was scouting. He asked for you, by name or by description. The girl with the hair like river silk. You feel sick. This isn't a political bargain, it's a shopping list. You are the final, most valuable item in the treasury. And if I say no? He burns the city, the general says, his voice rough. He kills us all, he takes you anyway. This is the great, awful truth. Historians still argue whether these diplomatic marriages between the settled kingdoms and the nomadic invaders were brutal abductions or calculated political maneuvers by the local nobility. You, in this moment, understand the answer. It is both. It is a calculated maneuver that feels exactly like an abduction. It is the most sophisticated, high-stakes form of surrender, dressed up as a treaty. So you say, your voice surprisingly steady. I am the price. Not to save Iconium. The stone is dead after all, but to save its people. He will give us safe passage, your youngest brother blurts out, looking grateful. He will allow the royal family and anyone who wishes to follow to leave, to go south to regroup in the southern cities. He is very generous, you look at him. Generous, yes. You are the sacrifice that lets them run away. You are the thread from the prophecy, and you are being used to stitch up this messy, bloody wound to buy their escape. You are trading your entire future for their lives. There's a strange, quirky detail to this horror. The Sogdian merchant who translated the offer? You saw him. A small, nervous man in a brightly colored coat wringing his hands. He's the one who will get paid for this transaction. He'll probably get a fat commission for selling you like a prize mare. It's just business. All of this is just the most brutal business in the world. You look around the room. These men, your family, your protectors, are all looking at you. You have all the power in the world, and no choice at all. You think of your philosophy tutor, Theophilus. You wonder if this moment, this cold, clear acceptance of the inevitable, qualifies as stoic apatheia. It doesn't feel placid. It feels like ice. Tell the merchant, you say, to inform his reasonable warlord that I accept. The safe passage is a bitter joke. You stand on the high walls of Iconium, the ones you used to patrol as a princess, and you watch your family leave. Your father, your brothers, Theophilus, and a long, snaking line of the Greek nobility, all the best people, trudge south, their wagons piled high with whatever they could salvage. They are allowed to go. They are the refugees now, heading for the southern capitals, for Bagram or Taxila, to try and rebuild or just disappear into the populace. Your father doesn't look back. Maybe he can't. You are the payment that clears their debt, the living toll paid to the barbarian at the gate. As the last of their dust settles, the great bronze gates of Iconium, the city that was your entire world, grown open, your new life is waiting. It does not look like your old one. There is no silk-draped litter, no honor guard of shining bronze-armored cavalry. There is a camel, a very large, very surly, very smelly Bactrian camel, with two massive humps covered in a shaggy, greasy-looking carpet. A nomadic warrior, his face weathered to the color of old leather, gestures impatiently. This is your ride. You, a princess of the Hellenistic world, are expected to climb onto this creature. This is the moment you trade Greek comfort for the harsh, unglamorous reality of the steppes. The long road east begins, or rather the long road northeast back across the Oxus into the heart of the territory your new husband just conquered. The journey is grueling. That is the only word for it, and it's not a big enough word. Your world, once measured in the cool defined spaces of courtyards and libraries, is now measured in dust and sky. The dust is the first thing you notice. It's not just on the ground, it's in the air. It's a permanent, gritty yellow haze that gets into your mouth, your nose, your eyes, and you suspect your soul. It cakes your expensive silk traveling robes, which you quickly realize are the most laughably impractical garment ever created. On the third day, one of your new attendants, a stern, nomadic woman who communicates in grunts and sharp gestures, hands you a pair of baggy, felted wool trousers and a coarse-spun tunic. You change. You don't look like a princess. You look like a shepherd. It's surprisingly comfortable and you hate yourself for it. The food is the next shock. You are used to a Mediterranean diet, light and varied. Fresh bread, olives, wine, fish from the river, figs and pomegranates. You now eat what the nomads eat. This is primarily millet, boiled into a gray, flavorless paste. You eat dried meat, biltong essentially, so hard you have to soak it in water or just gnaw on it for an hour, which you suspect is more for dental hygiene than nutrition. And then there is the drink, kumis, fermented mare's milk. It's fizzy, sour, slightly alcoholic, and tastes, to your educated palate, like a betrayal. It's a yogurt that's gone off to join a biker gang, but it's all there is. You learn to drink it. Historians still argue whether these vast nomadic movements were a chaotic, desperate scramble or a highly organized, seasonally aware migration. From your camel, it looks like organized chaos. The Ashi clan doesn't travel in a straight line. They move like a slow, amoeba-like blob, a rolling city of 10,000 people, 100,000 animals, sheep, goats, horses, and the lumbering camels that carry the yurts. The giant felt tents all neatly folded on their backs. They stop for days at a time to graze the herds, then move on. They are never in a hurry, and they are always moving. You learn the quirky, unglamorous facts of steppe life. The most valuable commodity out here isn't gold, it's fuel. The steppe is a sea of grass, but there are no trees, no wood for fires. So, what do you burn? You burn dung, dried animal dung. Argol, they call it. Part of the daily chores for the women and children is to follow the herds with baskets, collecting the fuel for the night's fire. The princess of Iconium, student of Aristotle, now has a working, expert-level knowledge of which animal's waste burns the hottest. It's sheep, by the way, very dense. You are utterly alone. No one speaks your language. The high-flown, perfect coin Greek you were raised on is as useless out here as your silk robes. The warriors guarding you are not unkind. They are just indifferent. They are horse archers. They treat their horses with more obvious affection than they treat any human. You are a package, a piece of political baggage. You are the thread, just as the oracle said. You are a thread being pulled mile after miserable mile away from everything you ever knew. into the vast, terrifying, empty heart of the steppe. The sun sets, and the sky is a purple-black dome of stars so bright they seem fake, and the wind never, ever stops. After weeks that feel like years, the caravan stops. You've climbed from the hot, dusty plains into rolling green pasture land, a sea of grass that seems to go on forever. This, you learn, is the Ordu, the main camp, the capital of this mobile empire. It's not a city. It's an encampment, but it's the size of a city. Thousands of yurts, the round, felt tents of the nomads, are arranged in careful concentric circles. It is a court of felt, a temporary metropolis that could be packed up and moved in a single day. And in the very center, like a pale, fat mushroom, is the palace, your new home. It is a yurt, yes, but it is the most enormous yurt you have ever seen. It must be 60 feet across, a masterpiece of latticework wood and heavy, oiled felt to keep out the rain. The smoke hole at the top is as wide as a chariot. This is a nomadic statement of power. A home as grand as any palace, but it's not tied to the dead stone your oracle warned you about. It can move. You are led inside, and the second half of the equation hits you. A court of felt, yes, but also a court of gold. The ground is covered in carpets. Not the sensible hard-wearing felt of the commoners, but thick, plush Persian and Bactrian carpets, so many they overlap, layers deep. You recognize two of them. They are from your father's throne room in Iconium. The loot of your former life is now the home decor of your new one. Gold and silver drinking vessels, Greek-style kylixes and Scythian bowls are piled on low wooden chests. Weapons hang from the latticework walls, composite bows of laminated horn, swords with hilts of gold and turquoise, and shining, captured Greek armor, hung up like hunting trophies. The air is thick with the smell of roasting mutton, wet wool, and the sour tang of kumis. And then you see him, Sapidbizes, the warlord. He is not a barbarian in the way your Greek tutors described. He is not a grunting, fur-clad savage. He is, in his own way, as aristocratic as your father. He is tall, with a long reddish beard braided with beads. He wears Chinese silk, not the coarse wool of his warriors, and a heavy gold torque around his neck. He is not impressed by your lineage or your philosophy. He is a businessman, and you are his latest, greatest acquisition. He looks you over. He doesn't ask about your journey. He doesn't ask about your family. He walks up to you, and in a gesture that freezes your blood, he grasps your chin and inspects your teeth just as he would a new horse. He's checking your health, your breeding stock. You pass. He nods, satisfied, and gestures for you to be given food. This is your new husband. He values horses over philosophy. In fact, that's a massive understatement. The next morning, he takes you not to his throne room, which is just a pile of cushions, but to his stables. This is where his real treasure is. He shows you his prized stallion. It's one of the heavenly horses from the Fergana Valley, a breed the Yuezhi and other steppe people prized above all else. The actual historical reason they were pushing west and south. These horses were tall, strong, and rumored to sweat blood, possibly due to a parasite, but it made for great marketing. This single horse, he explains to you through a Sogdian translator, is worth more than your father's entire library. And the worst part is, you know he's right. In this world, a book of Plato can't outrun a Scythian raid. A good horse can. You learn the bizarre rules of this mobile court. Power is not about stone walls, it's about proximity. A noble's status is determined by how close his yurt is allowed to be to the khans. It's a fluid political geography. A man in favor one week might be camped a half-mile away the next. A visible public demotion. It's like a high-stakes game of musical chairs, but with yurts. You also discover a quirky and deeply unsettling status symbol. At your wedding feast, a brutal hours-long affair involving entire roasted sheep and rivers of kumis. You see Sapidbizes drink from a very special cup. It is polished, rimmed with gold, and has a strangely familiar shape. The translator, a man who enjoys your discomfort, informs you it's the skull of the Xiongnu chief who defeated Sapidbizes' father, a little family heirloom, a reminder to never ever lose. This is a far cry from the light sarcasm and philosophical debates of your father's symposiums. You are in a different world, with different rules, and you are starting to realize that barbarian isn't the right word. Terrifyingly practical is more like it. Historians still argue whether the Yuezhi, like Sapodbizes, intended to become sedentary rulers from the start, or if they were pulled into it by the sheer gravitational wealth of the cities they conquered. As you sit there in your felt and gold prison, you suspect the answer. They didn't have a grand plan. They're just very, very good at taking what they want. And now, they have you. You are, for all intents and purposes, a hostage. A very high-status, well-fed, and beautifully dressed hostage, but a hostage nonetheless. Your first few months in the Ordu are a masterclass in silent humiliation. You have no one. The Sogdian translator is polite, but he works for Sapodbizes, and you know his loyalty is bought and sold daily. So you stop talking. You stop using Greek, which no one understands anyway, and you start, for the first time in your life, to truly listen. This is how you begin learning the new language. Not just the literal one, though you do that too. It's a Turkic-Iranian dialect, all guttural stops and long rolling R's like an argument between rocks. You pick it up word by word. You learn horse, water, meat, gold, and mine. You find it's a language of absolute possessives, a language for a people who understand the world in terms of what they own. But the literal language is just the key. The real language is the one spoken in gestures, in silences, in the precise order a warrior dismounts from his horse. You begin to see the patterns, just as you once did in the caravan reports. You are, after all, a data analyst by training. Your first data set is the harem, though it's not the perfumed gossamer prison of Greek imagination. It's an HR department, and the other wives are the senior managers. They are tough, leathery women with knives in their boots, and they run the entire domestic and economic life of the clan. They are not your friends. You are the Greek doll, the war trophy, the fragile, useless thing. They ignore you, which is the best gift they could possibly give you. It makes you invisible. And by being invisible, you see the real pattern. You see the true language of power. Sapodbizes, the warlord who makes grown generals tremble. The man who drinks from a skull is terrified of one person, his mother. She is an old, tiny woman who never leaves the yurt, her face a brown apple of wrinkles. She just sits by the fire, stirring a pot, seemingly half asleep. But you watch. You see a sub-chief, a Noyan, come in, swaggering with arrogance, to demand a greater share of loot. Sapodbizes is about to agree, just to shut him up. The old woman coughs. Just once, a dry, papery sound. The warlord freezes. He reconsiders. The Noyan is sent away with nothing. This is your fringe tidbit of nomadic life. The power of the Khatun, the senior woman, is absolute. Sapodbizes might be the sword, but his mother is the hand that holds it. You've found the real power. So you don't try to impress your husband. You impress his mother. You use your Bactrian knowledge of herbs, not for perfume, but for medicine. You brew her a willow bark tea for her joint pain. You massage her hands with the last of your Greek olive oil. You stop being the Greek doll and become the quiet, useful nurse, and she starts to talk to you. This is when you understand the political structure. It's not an empire. It's a business. And Sapodbizes is the CEO of a very violent startup. Historians still argue whether nomadic empires were truly centralized states or just loose, temporary confederations of loyalty based on a single charismatic leader. You now know the answer. It's a confederation. Sapodbizes isn't a king who rules by divine right. He's a big man, and his power lasts only as long as he keeps the loot flowing to his sub-chiefs. His position is based on the mainstream historical fact of constant successful warfare, which is a very stressful business model. And the business is in trouble. He's conquered Iconium, but the city is empty. The stone is dead. His warriors are horsemen. They have no idea how to run a city. They're like wolves who have captured a beehive. They want the honey, but they keep getting stung. Sapodbizes is frustrated. The workshops are silent. The Greek artisans have fled south. The aqueducts are backing up, and the caravans, the source of the wealth, have all stopped, terrified of the new owners. One night he is complaining, drunk on kumis. "The city is dead," he roars at his translator, who relays it to you. "The gold is gone. The Greeks were fools, but they were rich fools. This is your moment. You've been quiet for months. You speak, your voice rusty. Not in Greek. You use the few words of his own language you've mastered, supplemented by the translator. You are thinking like a raider. You steal the cow you eat for a week, you milk the cow you eat forever. He stares at you. You tap into your real education. Not Homer. The caravan reports. The Greeks were not rich because of the gold, you say. They were rich because of the road. They were the gate. They didn't just take from the merchants, they protected them. And they taxed them. A little every time. You point to the Sogdian translator. His people, the Sogdians, they are the blood in the road. They are not warriors. They are merchants. They are terrified of you. But they will work with you if you make them rich. You lay it out. Forget looting. Guarantee the safety of the passes. Rebuild the trading posts. Send word, using the Sogdians, that the Ordu of Sapidbizes is the new stable power. Take 10% of everything that passes. Sapidbizes is not a philosopher, but he is a brilliant, predatory businessman. He understands this. He is looking at you, really looking at you, for the first time. You are not a doll. You are not a horse. You are a key. You had just used your Bactrian knowledge of logistics and economics to advise the man who destroyed your world. And in doing so, you've just become the most valuable person in his. You've just become the chief financial officer of the apocalypse. Sapidbizes doesn't just agree with your milk the cow speech. He acts on it. You've given him a path that isn't just hit things until gold falls out. The very next day, the Sogdian translator, the one who used to look at you with that oily mix of pity and contempt, is now your personal assistant. He is, you realize, terrified of you in a way he never was of the warlord. Sapidbizes is a simple, predictable predator. You are something new. You are a Greek-trained mind, with a Bactrian's patience, who now has the ear of a nomad king. You are, in short, a monster of logistics. This is where you leverage your new position. You are no longer just the Greek queen. You are the de facto treasurer and foreign minister. You tell Sapidbizes that you need to speak to the Sogdian merchants. Not the one translator, but the leaders. He laughs and says his men can round them up. No, you insist. Not as hostages, as guests. This is a concept so foreign to him that it takes an hour to explain. You are not demanding their cooperation. You are inviting them into a new business venture. A week later, they arrive at the Ordu, a delegation of 3 men, looking profoundly out of place and yet completely at ease. This is the Sogdian genius. They look like they're perpetually halfway between disaster and a massive profit. They are not warriors like the Yuezhi, with their power in their arms and horses. They are not aristocrats like your Greek family, with their power in their land and their books. Their power is in their connections. These are the true masters of the Silk Road. This is the great mainstream historical fact of the age. For the next 1,000 years, these people, the Sogdians, will be the ones who actually run the roads. Their language will become the lingua franca, from the edge of Persia to the gates of China. They are the middlemen, the translators, the long-distance haulers, the international bankers. They are the circulatory system, and right now their blood supply is cut off. You meet them in a smaller yurt, one you've claimed as your office. You have it furnished with carpets from your old home, a strategic move. It shows them who you were. You serve them kumis, another strategic move. It shows them who you are. They are wearing the most eye-watering combinations of clothing you've ever seen. Chinese silk robes, Parthian-style trousers, Scythian boots, and Indian jewels. Like a trade catalog exploded. They are pragmatism made flesh. You lay out your plan. My husband, the great Khan, you say, using the title you invented for Sapidbizes to make him sound more impressive, is the new sword of the North. He has the power. They nod. They know this. But power is not profit. He controls the roads. I control him. And you are the roads. You propose a new model. No more raids. No more protection money that looks a lot like extortion. You propose a simple, boring, beautiful tax. A flat rate, 10%, Pax Yuezhi, a Yuezhi piece, a name you just made up. Your husband's horse archers, the wolves who used to hunt them, will now be their escorts. They will ride under the banner of Sapidbizes. and you will give them a clay seal, a bulla, with your own Greek signet ring pressed into it, as a passport. One of the merchants, an old man with eyes that have seen too much, asks the obvious question. Why? Why trust a nomad? Why trust you? You are his prize, because you say I'm a prisoner just like you. He has my body, but he doesn't have my city. My home is dead stone, just as the oracle said. You lean in. I am building a new city, not of stone, but of roots, of paper, of gold. I don't want to be a warlord's trophy. I want to be a patron. And I am choosing you to be my first citizens. This is your new network, your own spies. Historians still argue whether the Sogdians were a unified people with a central nation, or just a loose-knit, almost invisible network of family-run trading houses that spanned a continent. You see the truth right in front of you. It's all family. It's all trust. The merchant in front of you has a cousin in Samarkand, a brother-in-law in the Tarim Basin, and a nephew who knows a guy in India. This is their quirky fringe superpower. It's not a state. It's a 1st century BC version of LinkedIn built entirely on nepotism and a shared love of profit. A Sogdian will sell you the rope to hang yourself, then sell your relatives the silk for the funeral shroud and probably offer a 10% discount for the bundle. And you love them for it. They agree. Of course they agree. You are offering them the one thing they've never had, a predator on a leash. You become their patron. You use your new authority to protect their storehouses in the ruins of Iconium. You carve out a section of the ruined city as a Sogdian quarter, a tax-free enterprise zone. You are no longer the hostage. You are the manager. The work is hard, the hours are long, and your customers are demanding. But when the first caravan rolls east, guarded by 50 Uaji warriors who look profoundly confused about their new role as security, you watch it go. You've just turned a barbarian horde into a multinational corporation, and you are the CEO. The Sogdian caravans are moving. Your Pax Uaji is a fragile newborn thing, but it's working. The tax revenue in the form of gold dust, bolts of silk, and rather puzzlingly bricks of compressed tea is flowing into the Ordu. Sapad Bezos is thrilled. His sub-chiefs are getting rich, which means they've stopped sharpening their knives and pointing them at him. Your yurt is now the undisputed administrative center of the new empire. It's piled high with cargo manifests written in Aramaic, trader route maps drawn on cured hide, and dozens of little clay bullae, all bearing the imprint of your Greek signet ring. You're a spreadsheet queen in a felt and fur world. You are finally busy, but there is another, more ancient economy at work. A biological one. You've been the warlord's wife for over a year, and the entire camp, especially the leathery-faced senior wives, are watching you with an intensity that makes your skin crawl. You've secured the money, you've secured the trade, but you haven't secured the blood. In this nomadic world, a dynasty isn't built on treaties, it's built on sons. The pregnancy is a new kind of misery. Your Greek-trained body is not accustomed to the diet, and the constant subtle smell of fermented milk and burning dung does not help. But you are, if nothing else, a survivor. You retreat into your work, pushing your trade network further and further down the map, even as your body changes beyond your control. When the time comes, it's not a quiet, civilized affair. It is a primal, terrifying, and very loud business conducted in the yurt, with Sapadbiz's mother, the old matriarch, presiding over the whole thing like a hawk-faced goddess. She, not a physician, is the one who sees you through. And then, it's done. A loud, screaming, red-faced confirmation that the gods have a very dark sense of humor. It's a boy. Sapadbizes, the man who drinks from skulls and burns cities, comes into the yurt, and he is a different person. He is giddy. He holds the child, a tiny, wrinkled thing, and he laughs a booming, genuine laugh that scares the horses outside. This is not just a baby, this is an heir. A half-Greek, half-nomad prince. You have just given him the future. You have just produced the first of a new line. This is the mainstream historical fact that will define this region for a century. The fusion of the Uaji rulers, who would later become the Kushans, with the Greco-Bactrian nobility. Your son is that fusion, made flesh. He will grow up speaking a nomadic tongue and looking at coins stamped with the face of Heracles. Your position in the Ordu is no longer just secure. It is solidified. You are not the trophy wife. You are the Khatun, the mother of the future Khan. The other wives now bow to you, their faces tight with a respect that looks exactly like fear. Sapidbai's mother, the old woman, wordlessly hands you a cup of kumis, a gesture of full acceptance. Then comes the quirky and horrifying part. The old woman takes the baby. She dips her finger into a small bowl, not of water, but of fresh horse blood from a sacrificed stallion. She daubs a single tiny red speck onto the lips of your newborn son, his first taste of the world, to bind him to the soul of the horse, to the heart of the steppe. Your Greek-trained mind, the mind of Aristotle and Plato, recoils in absolute horror. But the Bactrian queen in you, the survivor, understands. The ritual is complete. He is one of them now. Sapidbai's is already planning the feast. The entire Ordu will be drunk for a week, and you? You are exhausted, you are bleeding, you are sore, and you are bored. You motion for the wet nurse. You hand her the screaming, blood-lipped heir to the new world. Because your focus is not on the nursery. Your focus is on the treaty. The baby has secured your life. The treaty will secure your legacy. You pull yourself to your feet, wrap yourself in a robe, and walk over to your desk, a stack of painted chests. While Sapidbai's celebrates his son, you are birthing your real child. This is not just a simple agreement with the Sogdians anymore. This is the masterwork. You are drafting a full-blown international trade agreement. The Sogdians were just the start. Now, using their contacts, you are sending envoys west, to the Parthians. The Parthians are the new power in Persia. They are the suitors from the west your father always feared. They are a nomadic people who, like Sapidbai's, decided they liked cities and taxes. They are your new, very dangerous neighbors. Your treaty is a masterpiece of geopolitical maneuvering. You are offering them a deal. Your UAG will stabilize the entire eastern frontier. You will be the buffer against other nomad invasions. You will be the single, unified checkpoint for all eastern trade. In exchange, their king, the King of Kings, will grant your Sogdian caravans preferential tariff rates and safe passage through their empire. Historians still argue whether these dynastic marriages were the primary driver for the Hellenization of the UAG rulers, or if it was just a side effect of conquering Greek cities. You, holding your half-Greek son, know the truth. The cities are just stone. The real fusion is this: a mother, using her Greek education to write a treaty that will fund a nomadic empire, all while her new, blended blood child sleeps in the arms of a wet nurse. You are, in effect, writing the 1st century BC version of NAFTA, on parchment in 2 languages for a husband who can't read. It's the most important work of your life. The baby is just leverage. Your son, who you've named Heraeus, a name that sounds just Greek enough to satisfy your ancestors and just step enough to be shouted by a warrior, is now a toddler. He is a sturdy, bow-legged child who seems to have inherited your quiet, watchful eyes and his father's alarming fondness for sharp objects. Your Pax Euasia is a resounding success. The treaty with the Parthians is holding, and the gold, silk, and spice are moving. The Sogdian caravans, operating under your Greek-style seal of approval, have become the most reliable shipping network in Central Asia. Sapidbai's, your husband, is a very rich, very happy warlord. He is celebrated, he is powerful, and you've started to notice he is deeply, profoundly bored. You've built a system that is too good. It's a logistical machine, and he is a warrior. A warrior needs a war. You, the administrator, have accidentally made his primary skill set obsolete. He spends his days drinking kumis and complaining that the cushions in his yurt are too soft, that the silk robes you got him itch. He misses the simplicity of a good raid. This is the great mainstream historical fact about nomadic confederations. They are brutally unstable, held together only by the personal charisma and military success of a single big man. The moment that man stops being successful, or in this case, stops doing anything, the knives come out. The hunting accident is almost a cliché. It's a crisp autumn morning, the kind where the air is so clear you feel you can see into next week. Sapidbai's, in a fit of nostalgic energy, decides to go on a massive boar hunt. He gathers his 50 most reckless, most loyal, most drunk, 9 in the morning warriors, and they thunder out of the Ordu in a cloud of dust and bravado. You do not go. You are in your office yurt, deep in a mind-numbing dispute with a merchant who is trying to pass off low-grade turquoise as high-grade. You are a CEO, and this is just another day at the office. They come back 3 days later, not in a thunder, but in a slow, funereal walk. The warriors are silent, their faces grim. Your husband is not on his horse. He is on his horse, but not in the way he'd prefer. He is lashed across the saddle, his silk hunting tunic stiff with a truly spectacular amount of blood. The official story is magnificent. He cornered a boar the size of a yurt, a tusked beast from the underworld. He fought it alone for an hour. He killed it, but it took him with it. A warrior's death. A song for the bards. You, the analyst, walk over to the body. You look at your dead husband, and you see very clearly the 3 neat, perfectly spaced arrow holes in his back. The fletching on the arrows, which someone in their haste forgot to remove, is from the Ashi clan. His own. This wasn't a boar. This was a hostile takeover. A hunting accident in the same way a push from a high window is a gravity experiment. And just like that, you are the widow of the steppes. The Ordu goes from a stable center of commerce to a pressure cooker. The screams of the professional mourners, a quirky and terrifying fringe job where women are paid to shriek and tear their faces, are soon drowned out by the shouts of the sub-chiefs. The big man is dead. The Confederation is dissolving. This is your moment of maximum peril. Your power was not your own. It was derived from him. You are the foreign wife. Your son is a 3-year-old child. In this world, a regent is just a placeholder, a victim in waiting. But this is where your precarious position becomes a powerful one. Historians still argue whether royal women in nomadic societies were mere pawns, passed from husband to brother in levirate marriage, or if they held real, autonomous power. You are about to cast your vote. The sub-chiefs are gathered, already arguing about who will be the next Khan, which really means who will get to marry you and adopt your son. A political move that would end with your son having a tragic hunting accident of his own in a few years. They are all warriors. They think in terms of horses and swords. They have forgotten what you have been doing for the last 3 years. You walk into the great yurt, holding your son on your hip. You are not weeping. You are not dressed in mourning. You are dressed in your finest Bactrian silks, the Greek doll, remember that? Returned with a vengeance. You are carrying your abacus. The most powerful chief, a brute named Vima, stops shouting. He looks at you. Woman, this is not a place for you. Go to your tent. We will tell you who your new master is. You smile. No? The room goes silent. You say, pointing to Vima, have 500 warriors. They have not been paid in a month. The gold shipment from Samarkand? I rerouted it. It's in a cave 3 days from here, and only I have the map. You point to another chief. Your clan needs grain for the winter. The Sogdians who run the grain storehouses in Ikanum, they report to me. I am their patron. Without my seal, they will not give you a single bushel. You hold up your son, Heraeus. This is the Khan, Sapidbai's only son. The old matriarch, his grandmother, agrees. You glance at the old woman, who is standing in the shadow, her face unreadable. She nods once. You say to the entire stunned room, are all very good at fighting, but you are very bad at business. And this is a business now, not a war band. You've just played your hand. You don't have the swords, but you have the supply chain. You have the payroll. You have the money. And you have the air. You have, in one move, made yourself the chairwoman of the board. You are not the widow to be pitied. You are the regent to be feared. You've done it. You've faced down a yurt full of murderers and accountants, and you've won. You are the regent, the Khatoon of the Ueji. Your son, Heraeus, is the undisputed, if tiny, Khan. Your control of the Sogdian merchant network, the payroll, the supply chain, the entire economy, has checkmated the sub-chiefs. Vima and the others, the men who likely put those 3 arrows in your husband's back, now have to come to you for the gold to pay their own warriors. It's the most satisfying, terrifying position you've ever been in. But here's the problem with holding a wolf by the ears. You can let go. You are not a warrior. Your power is based on logistics, on the promise of future wealth. Their power is based on the application of immediate violence. They are resentful. You've put them on an allowance. They are wolves, and you are trying to make them sit, stay, and roll over for a grain ration. You can see it in their eyes. This stability won't last. The Pax Uasia you created was built on the myth of Sapidbizi's singular terrifying power. Now he's gone, and the Pax is crumbling. Your security forces are the very men who are thinking about overthrowing you. Naturally, this news travels. Your Sogdian merchant spies are the most efficient gossip network in the ancient world. The word goes out, whispered in caravanserais from the Caspian Sea to the Tarim Basin. The Uasia are weak. The big man is dead, and his accountant wife is in charge. This is when the suitor arrives. He comes from the west. This isn't a dusty merchant or a rival chief in felt. This is an official delegation from the Parthian Empire. They ride in like a different species. 100 heavy cavalry, their horses draped in bronze scalar moor, the men themselves in shining steel. They are the cataphracts, the tanks of the ancient world. They are professional, they are silent, and they are not here to negotiate. The envoy, a smooth-faced Persian in a purple Greek-style chlamys, bows. He doesn't bow to you, not at first. He addresses the assembled chiefs, Vima in particular. He speaks in perfect aristocratic Greek, a deliberate signal that this is a conversation above the level of the nomads. He brings greetings from the King of Kings, the Arsacid ruler. This is the great mainstream historical fact of your time. The Parthian Empire is the power in the West. They are the inheritors of the Seleucid mess, the new Persian dynasty, and they are obsessed with securing their eastern border, the one you are currently and very precariously sitting on. The envoy's speech is a masterpiece of passive aggression. He speaks of the profound grief the King of Kings felt upon hearing of the tragic accident that befell his dear brother and ally, Sapidbizes. You almost laugh. They were rivals who would have poisoned each other without a second thought. Then he turns to you. His eyes are cold. And the King of Kings, the envoy says, is deeply concerned for you, noble lady. A widow, alone, surrounded by such uncertainty. He looks at Vima and the other chiefs with open contempt. He worries for the stability of the vital trade you have so brilliantly managed. He worries for the safety of your precious son. This is it. The offer of protection. It is, of course, a marriage proposal. The King of Kings Phraates, or perhaps Mithridates. Historians still argue whether the Parthian-Uasia relationship in this period was one of outright Parthian domination, or a more complex fluctuating balance of power, will do you the great honor of taking you as his wife. He will bring you to his court. He will adopt your son, Heraeus, and protect his inheritance. He will unify the Uasia warriors, under his own command, of course, with the Parthian army. It's the 1st century BC equivalent of a benevolent hostile takeover. He's not offering protection, he's offering acquisition, and he sent 100 very shiny, very sharp terms and conditions to help you decide. You see the chessboard. It's not a choice, it's an ultimatum. The Parthian army is camped just across the river. If you say no, the envoy will be saddened, and his king will be forced to invade to restore order, which means killing your son, killing Vima, and taking you anyway. You look at Vima. The man who probably murdered your husband is beaming. He's thrilled. This is the best news he's ever had. He's a warrior, and he's being offered a job with the biggest, baddest military machine in the region. He'd rather be a high-ranking general in the Parthian army, serving a real warrior king, than take orders from a Bactrian woman who keeps asking him to fill out requisition forms. He and the other chiefs are all in. You've been outmaneuvered. The envoy, seeing your hesitation, plays his trump card. This is the quirky, fringe tidbit that he saves just for you. My king, as you know, he says, his voice dripping with condescension, is a Philhellene, a lover of Greeks. He sponsors the tragedies of Euripides at his court. He mints his coins with Greek titles. You will not be a barbarian's trophy. He implies, you've had your little adventure, playing queen in a tent. It's time to come home to civilization. He's basically saying, come on, you've suffered enough with these kummerswilling savages. We have actual wine and theaters, and if you're lucky, indoor plumbing. You are trapped. You are, once again, the thread. The oracle's stupid prophecy is an anchor around your neck. You are being used to bind the next two powers, the Yuezhi, your son's inheritance, and the Parthians, your new husband. Your entire life is just a series of brutal, high-stakes mergers and acquisitions. You look at your son, playing with a goat's knucklebone on the floor. You can stay, fight a civil war against Vima and his new Parthian allies, and watch your son die. Or you can pack your bags. You're starting to feel like your resume is getting just a little weird. Skills, logistics, macroeconomics, treaty drafting, marrying warlords, surviving coups, regent of nomadic horde. You look at the smug Parthian envoy. Tell the king of kings, you say, your voice like ice, that I am overwhelmed by his generous offer. We accept. The acceptance is a formality. The moment you nod, you are no longer the regent, you are cargo. The packing is swift, and this time you have no illusions. You are not leaving your home to be married, you are being foreclosed upon. Your son, Heraeus, is bundled up. He is the living, breathing key to the Yuezhi territories. And the Parthians are taking the key, and the lock, and the whole blasted door. Your chief-turned-traitor, Vima, is all smiles, bowing to his new Parthian masters. He is now the Parthian-backed ruler of the Yuezhi, which is a very polite way of saying he's the new regional branch manager, and his branch now belongs to corporate. The journey west is the complete inverse of your grueling, humiliating trek to the Ordu. There is no smelly camel, no kumis, no gnawing on dried meat. You are in an enclosed, sprung litter, draped in purple, and carried by six, well, you assume they're people. You can't see them. You are surrounded at all times by the cataphracts, the heavy cavalry. They are your honor guard, and they are your prison bars. They are silent, shining, and look like the least fun-looking party bus in history. They ride in perfect formation. They don't forage. They carry their own supplies on a massive baggage train. This is not a migration, it's a high-value asset transfer. You cross the Oxus River, the great dividing line, for the last time. You are leaving Bactria, the land of your birth, the land you briefly ruled. You travel west across the Iranian plateau. The landscape changes from the high, green steppe to a harder, drier, more ancient land. The air gets hotter. The dust is less about grass and more about stone, the grit of crumbled empires. You are traveling backward in history, from the new, chaotic world of the steppes into the ancient, settled, cynical heart of Persia. Your new capital is Ctesiphon, the winter seat of the Parthian kings. It sits on the Tigris River, a sprawling, chaotic, magnificent city of mud brick and ambition. But as you approach, you see the true weirdness of Parthian power. On the other side of the river is Seleucia, a massive, perfect, grid-planned Greek city, one of the original capitals of your Seleucid cousins. The Parthians conquered it, but they didn't destroy it. They just built their own, slightly messier capital right next to it, like a defiant nomadic encampment that got way out of hand and petrified into a metropolis. You arrive at the palace. This is not a yurt. This is the Persian ceremony part. The palace is an old Achaemenid, that is, Old Persian building, a fortress of soaring stone and endless halls that smell of ancient cedar and thousand-year-old dust. There are ranks of court officials, eunuchs of the chamber, masters of the horse, royal cupbearers, 1,000 titles for 1,000 ways to be a high-status servant. They are all dressed in elaborate Persian robes, and the air is thick with the scent of heavy floral perfumes. But then you see the nomadic roots part. The guards in this ancient ceremonial hall are not standing at attention. They are Parthian nobles, the Arsacids, the horse barons who are the true foundation of the king's power. They are lounging on cushions, their heavy cavalry armor stacked in the corners. They are loud. They are drinking wine from Greek Rhytons, but they're drinking it at 10 in the morning. They are wearing Scythian-style trousers and tunics, but they're made of the finest Chinese silk, and they all wear the Greek diadem, the headband of a king. It's like a corporate merger between a biker gang and the world's stuffiest law firm, and it is profoundly, deeply weird. Historians still argue whether the Parthian court was a true continuation of the Achaemenid Persian bureaucracy, with its rigid hierarchies, or a much looser feudal system, where the king was just the first among equals, the richest and toughest of all the other horse barons. You see the truth in a single glance. It's both, and they are constantly at war with each other. Right here in this hallway, you are brought before your new husband, the King of Kings. He is not Sapad-Bizes. Sapad-Bizes was a blunt instrument. This man, Mithridates, is a man of terrifying contradictions. He wears a simple Greek diadem, but his robes are crusted with Indian pearls. He has a philosopher's beard, but a warrior's eyes. He is, as his envoy promised, a Philhellene. And this brings you to the single most defining, quirky, and terrifying tidbit of the Parthian court. Your new husband loves Greek theater. He loves it. He has a troupe of Greek actors, imported from Syria, who perform the great tragedies for him. And there is a story, one you praise just a rumor, about a recent victory. The story goes that when the Roman general Crassus was defeated and killed, his head was brought to the Parthian court during a performance of the Bacchae. The actor playing the main character, Agave, who in the play carries the head of her own son, instead came out carrying the actual severed head of the Roman general and recited the lines, "This is your new home," a place where they watch Greek philosophy as a warm-up act for displaying the heads of their enemies. Your new husband, the Shahanshah, is like a venture capitalist who bought a 500-year-old museum and is now living in it, drinking out of the exhibits and occasionally reenacting his favorite murders using the staff. You are ushered into your new quarters. They are magnificent. Marble floors, silk hangings, high, cool ceilings. It is a return to the dead stone you were warned about. And you are once again a very beautiful, very expensive prisoner. Awaiting continue. Your new quarters are, as promised, magnificent. The marble is cool under your feet, a welcome relief from the ever-present grit of the Ordu. The silence is absolute. There is no wind howling through felt, no stamping of 10,000 horses, no sour smell of kumis. The air is still heavy and perfumed with rose water. You have a private bath, a courtyard with a gurgling fountain and servants who appear, bow and vanish without a sound. You are back in the gilded cage you were born in, only this one is bigger, and the bars are made of ancient, unshakable tradition. Your son, Heraios, is taken from you. Not cruelly. Oh no, it's all very for his own good. He is given his own wing, a phalanx of Parthian tutors and a string of ponies. He is being educated as a prince of the Arsacid line, which is the royal way of saying he is the most valuable hostage in the empire. His presence ensures that Vima and the other Yuezhi chiefs, now technically Parthian vassals, will never get the bright idea to stop the flow of trade, or men, or tribute. Your son is the collateral. And you? You wait. You are the honored wife, the Greek queen, and you wait to find out what your job is. When your new husband, the King of Kings, finally summons you, it's not to your office yurt, it's to the library. He doesn't ask you about grain prices, caravan logistics, or the tax yield from the Oxus Delta. He doesn't ask you about your time as regent or how you managed to tame a horde of nomadic murderers. He doesn't care about the skills that kept you alive for the last 5 years. He hands you a scroll. It's a copy of Antigone. This is when you realize, in a moment of cold, dawning, soul-crushing clarity, what you are. You are not his partner. You are not his advisor. You are his new prized living status symbol. You are the ultimate piece of Hellenistic art for his collection. He is the ultimate fanboy, a warlord who has collected the whole set. This is the great mainstream historical fact of the Parthian Empire. The rulers, the Arsacid dynasty, were obsessed with calling themselves Philhellenes, or lovers of Greeks. They put this title on their coins. They built Greek-style theaters. They funded Greek temples. Why? Because they, like Sapad-Bizes, were a nomadic dynasty that had conquered a much older, more civilized empire. In their case, the Seleucids. And their new empire was full of large, powerful, and very wealthy Greek cities. Cities like Seleucia on the Tigris, right across the river, which was still one of the biggest and most economically important cities in the world. And these Greek cities hated being ruled by barbarians. So, your husband's job is to convince them he's not a barbarian, he's just a new kind of Greek. And you? You are his Exhibit A. You are the Greek queen in Persia. You are his walking, talking, breathing proof of legitimacy. You are not just a Greek. You are a Bactrian Greek, from the legendary, almost mythical line of Alexander's original Eastern conquests. Your bloodline is seen as purer, more authentic, than the diluted, tired blood of the Seleucids he'd just kicked out. You are the antique. You are the vintage, first edition, mint condition Greek. Historians still argue whether the Parthian Philhellenism was a genuine cultural appreciation or simply a cynical political tool to manage their conquered Seleucid territories. You, sitting in this library, with a man who just yesterday was probably watching a play involving a real severed head, have a very strong opinion on the matter. It is 100% a cynical, brilliant marketing campaign, and you are the new face of the brand. Your new job, you learn, is to be seen. You are dressed in the finest Greek silks, the peplos and himation, which feel thin and flimsy after the practical, heavy wools of the steppe. You are taken to the theater, where you are seated in the royal box and you are expected to look Greek, which seems to mean looking both intelligent and slightly pained. You are trotted out at state dinners, where your husband will ask your opinion on a passage from Thucydides, just to show his lounging, wine-drinking, trouser-wearing horse-baron friends that he has a wife who can read. It's the easiest and most profoundly degrading job you've ever had. There's a quirky fringe detail in all this. The actual Parthian noblewomen, they are terrifying. They ride, they hunt, they wear elaborate piled-up headdresses, and they wear trousers. They have real political influence in their own clans. You see them watching you, this quiet, silk-draped doll, and you can't tell if it's with pity or contempt. You've been promoted from CEO of a nomadic horde to a mascot. Your brain, the sharpest weapon you have, the one that analyzed silk weaves and nomadic politics and international trade, is now completely and totally irrelevant. You are a living callback to an age you never even lived in, all to legitimize a king who is just as much a barbarian as Sapedbizes, only he uses better wine and has a bigger PR budget. For the first 6 months, you are the perfect, decorative, half-forgotten doll. You are a masterpiece of compliance. You sit in the theater, you smile faintly at the philosophers. You wear the stupid, impractical, lovely Greek dresses. You are the mascot, and you let them believe that's all you are. The boredom is a physical presence, a thick, heavy blanket of perfume and silence. But you, the data analyst, the CEO of the apocalypse, know one thing. Boredom is a disguise. Boredom is the best camouflage in the world. While everyone else sees the docile, re-civilized trophy, you are doing what you have always done. You are listening. You are learning the language. You are finding the pattern. And the pattern in the Parthian court is a beautiful, screaming mess. Your new husband, the Philhellene King of Kings, is not a monolithic power. He is a man walking a tightrope. This is the great, mainstream historical fact of his empire. The Parthian state was a notoriously decentralized feudal system. The King of Kings didn't rule alone. He was just the first among equals, the boss of a massive, dysfunctional, and very heavily armed board of directors. This board was made up of the great houses, the other nomadic horse-baron clans who had helped the Arsacids conquer Persia. The Suran clan, the Karen clan, these men were not his subjects. They were his rivals. You watch them in the throne room. These are the hardliners, the ones who still smell faintly of horse. They hate this. They hate the Greek statues. They hate the Syrian actors. They hate the endless Persian bureaucracy. They are the nomadic roots you first saw, and they are chafing against the Persian ceremony. They think your husband, with his love of Antigone and his Greek-stamped coins, has gone soft. They think he has forgotten how to be a Parthian, a horseman. And your husband? He needs them. They are his army. But he also fears them. He needs the vast, taxable wealth of the Greek cities he rules. He needs their trade, their infrastructure, their administrators. So he's trapped. He has to play the Philhellene to keep the cities from revolting, and he has to play the warlord to keep his own nobles from accidentally shooting him in the back with 3 arrows. Remember that? You do. This is your in. You, and only you, understand both sides of this equation. You have lived in the polis. You have lived in the ordu. You are the only person in this entire empire who speaks both languages fluently, the language of the settled city and the language of the steppe. One night, you break the silence. He is in his study, frustrated, having just had another argument with the head of the Surin clan. He's looking at a scroll of Thucydides, but he's not reading it. He thinks you're weak, you say. Your voice quiet. He glares at you. The mascot has spoken out of turn. He thinks you continue, that all this, you gesture to the Greek scrolls, the marble, has turned your blood to water. And what would you know about it, my little Greek doll? He snarls. I know you say that I was the Khatoon of the Uaji. I know that I ran a nomadic horde. And I know that I am the only reason your eastern border is paying you a single drachma of tax, and not just sending you a pile of flaming wagons. Your nobles are right. You are playing a part. You are playing the Greek king. But you are not Greek, and they know it. He is silent. You have his full, undivided, and very dangerous attention. This is when you begin the real work. You are not weaving, you tell him. You are just switching costumes. And everyone can see the seams. You need to weave. You lay it out. You are not just his wife. You are his partner. You are the one who can bridge his two worlds. You begin the process of weaving the two great threads of your life. Thread 1. Your Uaji son, Heraios. He is the lever for the East. He is a hostage here, but in the East, he is the legitimate Khan. Vima, your old enemy, rules in his name. But Vima is a problem. He's ambitious. He's a warrior, just like your husband's nobles. Thread 2. Your Parthian husband and his feuding court. They are the lever for the West. You propose a new, unified Eastern strategy. Your nobles, you say, are warriors. They are bored, and they are disrespectful. They need a job. They need an enemy. And your vassal, Vima, he needs a boss. You suggest a plan that is so brilliantly cynical it's almost beautiful. You advise your husband to stop fighting his hardline nobles. He should promote them. Send the lord of the Surin clan east. Make him the lord protector of the eastern marches. Give him a giant fancy title. His job? To oversee the Uaji territories. To ensure the loyalty of Vima. You are in effect setting your old enemy, Vima, and your new husband's greatest rival, the Surin chief, against each other. They will be so busy watching each other that neither will have time to watch you. Historians still argue whether the complex Parthian system of vassal kingdoms was a sign of imperial weakness or a flexible, sophisticated form of indirect rule. You've just invented it. It's not weakness. It's outsourcing your internal rivalries. And then, you start sending messages. Your husband allows you to send motherly letters to your son, Heraios. They are, on the surface, just that. This is the quirky tidbit. You write them in Greek, on parchment, and they are full of innocent quotes from Homer, which your husband reads and applauds as a sign of your excellent, civilized parenting. But you and your son had a game, back in the Urdu, a simple cipher based on the third word of every line. You are sending your son, the Uaji Khan, detailed reports on the Parthian court. You are telling him who is strong, who is weak, who to bribe, and who to fear. You are weaving the two threads, and you are doing it right under your husband's Philhellene nose. You are no longer the mascot. You are the spider, and this is your web. The letters to Heraios are just one thread in the web, a single private line. But the true engine of your power, the one you built from the ground up, is still running. It's been running quietly in the background, just waiting for you to turn the key. Your network, the Sogdians. You are the Parthian queen, the Philhellene mascot. This is your official, public-facing, and incredibly boring job. But in the quiet of your marble rooms, you are still the patron. Your new elevated status as the wife of the King of Kings hasn't scared your old network away. It has made you infinitely more valuable to them. You are now their ultimate woman on the inside. You are their access to the entire western half of the Silk Road. And they are your access to everything else. This is where your network transforms from a commercial enterprise into your own private intelligence service. It's the historical fact that underpins the next millennium. The Sogdians were not just merchants. They were the internet. They were the nervous system of Asia. They didn't just move silk, they moved ideas, religions, languages, and most importantly, secrets. You use your husband's resources to supercharge this network. You convince him that to better manage the Eastern trade, you should send official greetings to the major trade depots, to your old contacts in Samarkand, in Bactria, the new name for the region around your ruined home, and even further. You are in effect using the Parthian state's diplomatic immunity to send your own agents, disguised as royal trade commissioners, to every major node in your web. And the information starts to flow. Not in official reports, not in coded letters, which are clumsy and can be intercepted. This is where your system becomes truly brilliant, a quirky fringe masterpiece of espionage. Your spies don't write, they talk. Your primary agent is the same old merchant who first negotiated your marriage to Sapad Bizas. Remember him? The one who brokered your sale? He is now your most loyal and richest operative. He visits the court at Ctesiphon, ostensibly to bring you a gift of rare white jade from Khotan. He presents the gift in the open court. He tells a long, boring story about the journey, about the weather, about a sick camel. Your husband is bored stiff. You are listening to every single word, because sick camel is the code for a delayed shipment. Bad weather in the passes is the code for a new chieftain extorting tolls. And when he mentions that the white jade is of a slightly different color this year, he's telling you that the source of the jade, the mine in the Tarim Basin, has changed hands. A new local warlord is in charge. This is military intelligence of the highest order, delivered as a mind-numbing anecdote at a state dinner. It's a system that's completely invisible because it's hidden in the most boring everyday transactions. Historians still argue whether the Sogdians had any national loyalty at all, or if their entire political existence was purely commercial and opportunistic. You know the answer. Their loyalty is not to a place, it's to the network. It's to profit, yes, but it's also to the system that guarantees that profit. And you are the architect of that system. You are the patron, and their loyalty is to you, the woman who makes the roads safe and the money flow. You are now, without question, the single best-informed person in the Parthian Empire. Your husband's spies, the spa beds, are focused on the west. They are looking at the Roman legions gathering in Syria, worrying about the Armenians. They are looking for armies. You are looking at data. You receive a shipment of silk. The manifest, written in Sogdian script, lists the bolts. But the numbers are wrong. The inventory count for a certain blue dye is 1040. It's not an inventory count, it's a troop count. 1,000 cavalry, 40 war elephants. A local Raja in northern India is planning a raid on your son's territories. This is information that hasn't even reached Vima yet. What do? You don't tell your husband. You don't tell his generals. You use it. You leak this information, this rumor from a merchant to your old rival, the Suran Lord, the one your husband posted to the east. You just gave him a test. If he fails to stop the raid, he looks incompetent to the King of Kings. If he succeeds, he owes you a favor, and he is reminded, painfully, that your information network is better than his. You've just established yourself as the puppet master of the entire eastern frontier, all from a quiet room in Ctesiphon, all by reading a shipping manifest. This is your real work, the plays, the philosophy, the Greek dresses, that's just the day job. You are the Queen of Persia, yes, but you are the spy master of Asia. Your system is perfect. It's a beautiful, self-regulating machine of information and influence. You sit at the center, the quiet, silk-draped spider, and you control the entire eastern half of the empire by knowing where every bolt of silk and every bag of grain is. You have successfully outsourced your husband's chief internal rivalry, the Suran clan, by sending him to oversee your old rival, Vima. Your son Heraeus is safe, and he is quietly learning how to be both a Uaji Khan and a Parthian prince, all under your long-distance tutelage. You've done it. You have achieved in this violent, chaotic world the one thing you've always craved, stability. And then a messenger arrives. He is not one of your Sogdians with their colorful clothes and quiet anecdotal reports. This man is a Parthian spa bed, a military spy. He is exhausted, his horse is dead, and he is carrying a sealed diplomatic pouch from the governor of Parthian-controlled Mesopotamia. He is one of your husband's spies, the ones who look west, and he is terrified. The report is unrolled in the throne room, and just like that, a new name enters the vocabulary of your court. It's not a kingdom, not a horde, not a dynasty. It's a word. Roma, the shadow from the west. This is the new, terrifying power. You've heard of them, of course. Your Greek tutors back in Iconium used to dismiss them as barbarians who learned to build aqueducts. They were the new money of the Mediterranean, a crude, brutish, overly militarized republic of farmers who had somehow managed to conquer the entire Hellenistic world that your ancestors had left behind. They were, in the opinion of your husband's Philhellene philosophers, a total disaster. They had no decent playwrights, their philosophy was just bad stoicism, and their statues were frankly embarrassingly realistic. They just had no style, but the report isn't about their lack of style. It's about their new proconsul in Syria, a man named Marcus Licinius Crassus. This is the great mainstream historical fact that is about to change your life. Crassus is not a normal politician. He is, by all reports, the richest man in their entire republic. He is a man who, as the stories go, became rich by burning down parts of his own city and then offering to sell the owners the services of his private fire brigade. For a price, he's the man who, after putting down a massive slave revolt led by a gladiator named Spartacus, had 6,000 of the survivors crucified along the main road into the city. He is, in short, a man with a truly disturbing combination of an accountant's soul and a butcher's heart. And he has just been given the entire, massive, professional army of the East. And he wants a triumph. He wants a glorious war to make him a legend. And he has decided that your husband's empire is the perfect place to get one. This is not a Yuezhi horde, which you know how to manage. This is not a feuding Hellenistic king, who you know how to poison. This is an institution, a corporation, run by lawyers and senators with a standing army of professionals who march in lockstep and build a perfect fortified camp every single night. Historians still argue whether the Parthian court truly understood the nature of the Roman threat when it first appeared. Did they see Crassus as the vanguard of a new existential enemy? Or did they just lump him in with the dozens of ambitious Seleucid generals they had already fought and defeated? You, standing in the throne room, watched the debate happen in real time. Your husband, the Philhellene, is dismissive. A jumped-up landlord, he scoffs. He'll march, he'll get tired, we'll pay him off. But the Suran lord, who has been recalled from the east, is not so sure. He is a warrior. He sees the reports. They fight on foot, he says, his voice a low growl. Like your Greeks. But they are not your Greeks. They are locusts. They come, they build roads, they build cities of stone, and they stay. Then comes the quirky fringe tidbit, a report from a spy in Antioch. The Roman legionaries, he says, are the most superstitious soldiers in the world. They worship birds. Each legion carries a gilded metal eagle on a pole, an aquila. They genuinely believe the soul of their legion, their genius, lives in this metal bird. If the bird is unhappy, they won't fight. And if the bird is captured, the legion will simply break. They will kill themselves in shame. The Parthian horse barons find this hilarious. They are slapping their knees. "We are going to war with bird worshippers," one of them shouts. "I'll take 3 chickens on a stick." It's a great joke, and it relaxes the entire room, but it doesn't relax you. You see the problem. The entire court, all the men, are now preparing for war, and this changes everything. Your Philhellene husband, the man who used you as his Greek mascot, is now suddenly, desperately, on the back foot. His entire love of Greek's platform is now a political liability. The hardliners, the war faction, the Suran clan, they are in charge now. The air in the palace changes overnight. The sound of lute players and Greek actors is gone, replaced by the ringing shing of 1,000 swords being sharpened, the smell of forge smoke and saddle soap. And you, the Greek queen, are suddenly a very awkward, very visible symbol of the West. The West, that is, at this very moment planning to invade. Your husband, your protector, is now forced to publicly distance himself from you. Your power, so carefully built in the shadows, is threatened by this new, very loud, very public shadow from Rome. And war, you realize, is not only hell. It's a massive, unmitigated disaster for supply chain management. Your routes to the Mediterranean are about to be complicated. The war fever has a smell. It's the smell of hot metal, old leather, and strangely onions, which the Parthian quartermasters seem to be stockpiling in truly apocalyptic quantities. The entire delicate, cynical, Philhellene court you've navigated is gone. Your husband, the King of Kings, is no longer quoting Euripides. He is living in a map room, his beard is uncombed, and he is spending all his time with the hard-eyed, trouser-wearing horse barons he used to despise. The Surin Lord, the general who will eventually win the coming war, is now the most important man in the empire. And you? You are a ghost. You are the Greek queen. And Greek is now the same word as Roman. They are to the Parthian hardliners the same enemy, the West, the Grajki. You are a political embarrassment, a symbol of the soft Philhellene policy that, they mutter, invited this Roman aggression in the first place. You are quietly, politely, and completely isolated. Your husband doesn't visit. Your duties at court are canceled. You are once again a prisoner in a gilded cage. But this time, the cage feels very, very flammable. Your Sogdian network is in chaos. The war with Rome has shattered the western half of the trade routes. Your agents can no longer get reports from Syria or the Mediterranean. The entire empire is holding its breath, waiting for the legions to march. The East, your old domain, is completely forgotten. It's last year's news. This is why when one of your old contacts, the merchant who looks like a bundle of colorful rags and ancient wisdom, finally arrives at the palace, he is treated like a beggar. He's not here with jade or silk. He is dusty, he is weeping, and he is turned away at the gates. The guards have no time for a nomad trader when the fate of the world is being decided. You, from your high window, see this. You recognize him. You use the last dregs of your royal authority to have him brought to you, secretly, through a servant's entrance. He falls to his knees in your marble room. He is not the same man who once calmly discussed troop movements under the guise of sick camels. He is a broken man. He is a refugee. It's gone, lady, he whispers in the Sogdian dialect you both know. It's all gone. You are confused. What's gone? The routes? I know. The war? No, he says, grabbing the hem of your Greek peplos. Not the routes. The city. Your city. Our city. Iconium, you say. My home. But it's been gone for years. Sapidbizes, my first husband. He... No, lady. You don't understand. He looks up, his face a mask of ash and terror. The stone was dead. Sapidbezes. He sacked it. But we made it live again. It was the depot. It was the hub. It was our safe house, under your son's protection, under Vima's patrols. It was working. And then he tells you, a new wave. Not the Uaji, not your son's people, not the Parthians. A different horde, pouring down from the north like melted snow. The Saka. A fresh, hungry, chaotic tide of horsemen who weren't in on your deal. They didn't want to milk the cow. They didn't care about your Pax Uaji or your clay seals. They weren't a business. They were just hungry. They hit Iconium not as a strategic target but as a bank, and they smashed it. They overran Vima's garrison, slaughtered the Sogdian merchants, and they burned it. This is the great mainstream historical fact that archaeologists will confirm 2,000 years later. When they dig up your home, they will find not one, but two distinct destruction layers. The first layer is the Sapidbizes layer, a disruption, a conquest. But the final top layer, that is a layer of pure annihilation. It is a meter-thick stratum of charcoal, ash, and rage. It is the end of the Hellenistic world in Central Asia. Historians still argue with great passion about the exact sequence of this final destruction. Was it the Saka, as your merchant claims? Was it an internal civil war among the Uaji clans? Or did the Uaji themselves, pushing south, just trample the last of it? For you, the debate is meaningless. The result is the same. The city is gone. The stone is not just dead. It's powder. Your merchant gives you the one quirky, heartbreaking tidbit. They broke into the treasury, he sobs. They took the gold, the Indian gem, but in the palace, in your father's old audience hall, they set a fire. A great fire. It burned all the records, all our ledgers, all the history, all the scrolls from your library. And you, the analyst, you know what fire does to clay. You realize in a moment of terrible, sublime irony that the fire that destroyed the history saved the administration. The thousands of papyrus scrolls, gone. But the little clay bulle, the seals you and your father and your merchants had pressed onto those scrolls, the fire would have baked them, preserving them like pottery. The record of your bureaucracy would survive, even as the civilization it recorded was turned to ash. A library of dust indeed. You are now truly a queen of nowhere, a relic, the last Greek of Bactria, your homeland, the place that defined you, the source of your Philhellene value to this court, has been wiped off the map. You are no longer Exhibit A. You are the last surviving dodo. You should be worthless. But as the Sogdian merchant weeps on your marble floor, you look out the window, west, where the Romans are, and you look east, where the Saka are. And you realize, with the cold, familiar grip of clarity, that you are once again the most important person in the empire. Your husband and his war geniuses are staring at one enemy. You are the only person alive who knows that a second, and perhaps worse, apocalypse is about to hit them from behind. The Sogdian merchant is still sobbing, a puddle of grief on your priceless marble floor. Your first instinct, the one from your Greek education, is pity. Your second instinct, the one from the Ordu, is annoyance. He is a data point, a very loud, very wet data point. He has brought you the most valuable, terrifying piece of intelligence in the world. Your husband is facing one apocalypse. You are the only person who knows that a second one is already rolling in from the east. You are a ghost in this court. The Greek queen, a relic of a failed policy. But a ghost, you realize, can walk through walls. The Suren, the hardline general, has shut you out of the war room. You are about to walk in anyway. You leave the merchant. You don't walk, you stride. You walk through the palace, a silk-clad, perfumed wraith, and you don't stop until you are at the doors of the Strategian, the map room. The guards, cataphracts in full armor, cross their spears. The Lord Suren is in council, the king. I am not here for the king, you say, your voice a flat, cold line. I am here for the Suren. I have news from the Eastern Front. The guards are confused. This is not in their training manual. The Greek doll does not do this. Before they can decide to stab you or bow, you push past them and enter the room. It is a cave of smoke, sweat, and maps. Your husband is there, but he's not in charge. The Suren is. He is a mountain of a man, all leather and beard, and he is glaring at a map of Syria. When he sees you, his eyes narrow to slits. Woman, this is not the theater. Get out. Crassus, you say, ignoring him and pointing to the map on the table, is your problem. He is not your only problem. Your husband, the king of kings, sputters. Wife, this is not the... My lord Suren, you say, your eyes locked on the general. Do you know what the Saka are? He scoffs. Nomads. Like your old friends. My old friends, damn the Uaji, are the last wave, you say. The new wave, the Saka, just wiped my homeland off the face of the earth. Iconium is not just dead stone anymore. It is a smoking pit of ash. The garrison Vima had there? Gone. Your entire eastern buffer? Gone. Your Pax Uaji? Gone. As we speak, a horde 100,000 strong is pouring into the territories you thought were secure. You are facing a two-front war, General. You just didn't know it. The room is absolutely deathly silent. The Suren stares at you. He is not angry. He is calculating. He sees the truth, and he sees the problem. So, he growls, the east is in flames. We have no troops to send. You have a problem, you say. And you are about to have a refugee crisis. This is it. The pivot. The merchant who brought me this news, he is the first. Thousands will follow. The roads from Bactria will be choked with them. Not just Sogdians, but Greeks. My people, the last of them. Farmers, soldiers, nobles, philosophers. The Suren's lip curls. Greeks. More Grajki, like them. He stabs a finger at the map, at Roma. Well, let them die. They are the same. No, you say. They are not. This is your moment. This is the great reframing. You are a fool if you think that. Those Romans? They are soldiers. These Bactrian Greeks? They are assets. They are the most valuable untapped resource in your entire empire. And you are about to let them be slaughtered by the Saka. You lean in. You are no longer the queen. You are the logistician. You are fighting an army of engineers. The Romans build roads. They build siege engines. They build walls. Your horse archers are brilliant, but they cannot take a Roman fortress. You point a single, steady finger at the Suren. My people can. My Greeks, you say, and you own the word, are the men who built Iconium. They are the finest architects, engineers, and artisans in the world. They are the masters of siege warfare. They are the smiths who know how to forge the steel you need for your armor. They are the coin makers who can build you a mint to pay for this war. They are a walking, breathing, terrified war machine, and they are about to land on your doorstep begging for protection. Historians will argue for centuries whether the Parthian state actively recruited Hellenistic artisans and scholars, or if they were just the passive beneficiaries of a brain drain from the collapsing Greek kingdoms. You in this smoke-filled room are inventing the active recruitment policy. So you conclude, let them die. Or, give them to me. The Suren is stunned. It's a move of pure political genius. Let me be the refugee mediator, you say. Give me a budget. Give me the empty quarter of Seleucia. I will sort them. I will take the useless mouths, the philosophers, the poets, and I will set them to teaching your sons. You throw in a joke, they're so much fun. But I will take the useful ones, the engineers, the smiths, the minters, the logisticians, and I will build you an arsenal. I will build you a mint. I will turn the ashes of my dead kingdom into the engine that fuels your war with Rome. The Suren looks at your husband. Your husband looks at the Suren. The Suren looks back at you. And for the first time, he smiles. It is a terrible, wolfish expression. You have just taken his biggest problem, the refugees, and his second biggest problem, the Greek-hating hardliners in his own army, and solved them both. You have also incidentally just made yourself the quartermaster general of the entire empire. You are no longer a ghost. You are a power broker. You are no longer the ghost in the palace. You are the shadow that runs it. Your refugee quarter in Seleucia is not a camp. It's an industrial park. It's the 1st century BC version of the Manhattan Project. You walk through the vast, repurposed gymnasia, and the air, once filled with the grunts of naked wrestlers and the arguments of philosophers, is now a hellish, glorious symphony of work. The ring of 1,000 hammers on 1,000 anvils. The roar of furnaces hot enough to melt steel. The sharp, acidic smell of the mint, where your Bactrian coin makers, the best in the world, are stamping out Parthian drachms by the barrelful, all to pay for the coming war. This is your army of assets, your Bactrian remnants. They are not fighting. They are enabling the fight. You've got Greek engineers, the men who built the theaters and temples of your youth, teaching Parthian soldiers how to construct helipoles, massive 9-story siege towers. You've got smiths, descended from generations of artisans, forging lamellar armor, a flexible, layered steel design that is far superior to the heavy, clumsy bronze your father's army once wore. You have, in 6 months, built a military-industrial complex from the ashes of your homeland. The Suren, your wolfish general, is delighted. He has his arsenal. Your husband, the King of Kings, is delighted. He has his money. The mint is funding the entire Western Front against Crassus. But you, the analyst, you know the truth. This is not sustainable. The war with Rome is a vampire, draining the empire of treasure, iron, and grain. And the East, your old home, is still on fire. The Saka are not a rival power. They are a wildfire, burning up the trade routes, destroying the tax base, and, most critically, cutting off the supply of raw materials your new forges desperately need. You are winning the battle in the West, but you are losing the war in the East. It's time for the true climax. It's time for your masterpiece. You request another meeting in the Strategion. This time, the guards don't block you. They snap to attention. You unroll a new map. This one is not from your husband's archives. It's a Sogdian map drawn on silk, and it shows the world you know. My lords, you begin, and you own the room now. We have a problem. We are fighting 2 wars, and we are paying for both of them. Crassus will be dealt with. You look at the Suran, who nods grimly. He has a plan for that, a very brutal plan involving a lot of arrows, which will later be known as the Battle of Carrhae, a mainstream historical fact that will define this era. But the East, you tap the map, is a disease. The Saka are chaos. They don't negotiate, they don't build, they break. You point to the territory of your son, Heraios, and your old rival Vima. Our vassals, the Uaji, are failing. They are trying to fight a steppe fire with a bucket of water. They are your buffer, and they are about to break. And when they do, the Saka will be on your doorstep. Your husband looks grim. So we send an army? We cannot. Every man is needed for the Romans. You don't send an army, you say. You buy one. This is the Great Caravan Pact. It's not a simple trade agreement. It is the most audacious piece of military subcontracting in history. We have 3 assets, you say, pointing to the 3 key players: the Parthian Empire, the Uaji Horde, and the Bactrian remnant, my refugees. Right now, they are all working separately. We are going to unite them. We are going to turn the entire Eastern world into a single corporation. Historians still argue, and they will for millennia, whether the Uaji, the future Kushan Empire, were vassals of the Parthians or independent rivals who rose in their shadow. You are about to write the real answer. They were a franchise, and you are the one who is about to sell them the starter kit. Here is the pact, you say. The Parthians, you, your husband, the Suran, will be the bank and the armory. The Bactrian remnants, your forges, will manufacture 50,000 complete sets of armor, weapons, and siege equipment. The Uaji, Vima, in your son's name, will be the exclusive subcontractor for Eastern security. They will stop defending and start attacking. They will be our army, our proxy, our wall against the Saka. Your husband blinks. We give our enemies 50,000 sets of armor? Are you insane? They will turn on us. They are not our enemies, you correct him. They are our customers, and we are not giving it to them. We are investing. In exchange for this, the Uaji will sign an exclusive 50-year military and economic treaty. They fight for us, and all the trade that flows through their lands from the lands beyond is taxed with 30% of the revenue going directly to the treasury here in Ctesiphon. This is your quirky, brilliant final move. The lands beyond. Your Sogdians have been telling you about them for years. A new massive stable empire in the far, far east. The Han dynasty. The true source of the silk. The Saka are blocking the main routes. This pact will fund the Uaji to clear a new northern route, a bypass, controlled by you. You are not just ending a war. You are building a new world. The pact is agreed upon. You, the Bactrian queen, the widow of the steppes, the Greek doll, are the sole arbiter. You send the first caravan. It is not silk or jade or spices. It is a river of black, forged steel, 10,000 spears, 10,000 cuirasses, heading east. It is a message to your son, Viachai, and to Vima. It is the thread of your oracle, not of silk, but of steel. You have just united the fractured kingdoms. You have just built the real Silk Road. The pact works. It works so well it's almost boring, which is, you've decided, your favorite new aesthetic. War is messy, chaotic, and terrible for profit margins. A well-oiled machine of proxy armies and tax revenue, that's art. In the West, the great Roman shadow, Crassus, has been dealt with. The Suran, using the arsenal you built and his own nomadic genius, lured the invincible legions into the desert at a place called Carrhae and annihilated them. It was a victory so total, so spectacularly bloody, that it has sent a tremor through the entire known world. The story of the Parthians forcing molten gold down Crassus's throat as a final joke about his legendary greed is already the talk of the court. It's probably not true, but it's the kind of humor your husband appreciates. Remember the Bacchae? These people have a theme. So, the Western Front is secure. The Roman bird worshippers, remember that joke, have scuttled back to Syria, thoroughly traumatized. leaving behind several of their precious metal eagles which are now hanging as slightly tacky but impressive trophies in the Suren's trophy room. Your husband is a hero. The Suren is a hero. And you? You are the richest, most indispensable Greek doll in history. Your refugee quarter is now the permanent royal arsenal. Your mint is the beating heart of the empire's economy. And in the east, your proxy war is a staggering success. The Uaji, led by Vima and advised by letters to your son, Heraeus, are armed with 50,000 sets of your finest Parthian Bactrian steel. They are no longer a disorganized horde. They are a steamroller. They are crushing the Saka, taking back the northern passes, and, in the process, carving out a massive new kingdom for themselves, the one that will one day be called the Kushan Empire. Your investment is paying off. The trade routes are secure, the new northern bypass is open, and the tax revenue is flowing like a river. You are, for the first of time in your life, in a period of true stability. You are in your 40s. Your son is a young man, a powerful vassal prince. Your husband respects you, or at least fears your accountant's mind. The Suren defers to you. It's all solved. Until the day your chief Sogdian agent, the old reliable one, comes to you, his face not in terror, but in a state of religious ecstasy. "Lady," he whispers, "they are here." "Who is here?" "The Saka are broken. Vima is..." "Vima? Who?" "The source," he says, "the end of the line. They are here. A formal delegation. They've been on the road for, well, they claim 3 years. They are not Greek, not Persian, not nomadic, not Indian. They are from a place you've only ever heard of in shipping manifests. They are envoys from the Silk King, the court of the great Han dynasty of China. This is the great mainstream historical fact of the age. This is the moment, the true first contact between the great civilizations of the East and West. The Chinese Emperor Wudi has been sending out feelers for decades, most famously his envoy, Zhang Qian, looking for allies against their mortal enemy, the Xiongnu, the ones who you'll recall started this whole mess by kicking the Uaji out in the first place, and whose chief's skull Sapad is used as a cup. It's a small world, really. The Han were looking for the Uaji. They found them, and they found that the Uaji have a new boss. You. Historians still argue, with great ink-stained passion, whether these first Han missions ever made it as far as the Parthian capital, or if all contact was mediated through vassals in the east. But in this throne room, the academic debate is irrelevant, because 3 of them are standing right in front of you, looking just as confused as everyone else. They are led by a man in a curious tall hat, his black hair pinned with a single perfect piece of jade. Their robes are not draped like a Greek's, or trousered, like a Parthian's. They are layered, complex, and so heavy with embroidery that they seem to stand up on their own. They bow. Not the casual Parthian nod, not the Greek incline of the head. It's a deep, precise, full-body fold. It's an act of pure, bureaucratic ceremony. You immediately recognize a people who love paperwork. You are, in short, going to get along just fine. You host them personally. Your husband, the Philhellene, has no idea what to do with them. They don't speak Greek. They don't know who Euripides is. He's baffled. The Suren, the warrior, is equally useless. He just wants to know if their horses are any good. You, on the other hand, have your Sogdian translators who have, over the years, built a pidgin language of trade. The meeting is a linguistic nightmare, a 3-way translation from Han Chinese to Sogdian, to the Parthian Greek of the court. And here is the quirky and telling tidbit. The Han envoys are astonished by you. They come from a world of rigid Confucian hierarchy, where a well-born woman is a domestic treasure, not a spy master, quartermaster, regent queen. The fact that you, a woman, are the one asking the intelligent questions about customs duties, road security, and metal tariffs, while your king husband just sits there and nods, it blows their minds. They will, in their reports home, describe the Parthian Empire as a very strange place where the men are ruled by their wives. You'll take it as a compliment. They explain their mission. They want an alliance. They want horses. They are obsessed with the heavenly horses of the West, the kind your first husband prized. They need them for their own wars. And they have seen your cataphracts. They have never seen horses in full metal armor. They are impressed, and they have silk, bolts, bales, mountains of it, so much that the bale they present as a gift is worth more than the Surinese entire estate. You realize you have been taxing the middlemen for years. You are now finally meeting the supplier. You make the deal. You, the Bactrian queen, sit there, a Greek ghost in a Persian court, and you finalize the Great Caravan Pact. The Han will be given military escorts. They will have tax-free access to the horse markets. In exchange, the Parthian Empire will have an exclusive first-look deal on all silk bound for the West. You have just connected the two ends of the world. The thread your oracle spoke of all those years ago, it turns out it wasn't a thread. It was a 4,000-mile-long superhighway. And you just installed the toll booths. The years pass as they do. They pass not in a flurry of wars and marriages, but in the steady, rhythmic thump, thump, thump of the mint, and the slow, predictable, glorious shuffle of caravans. The war with Rome sputters, flares, and settles into a cold war of poisoned daggers and border skirmishes. Your husband, the King of Kings, is now an old man, his Philhellene days long gone, his beard white. The Surin, the great general, was, perhaps predictably, executed by your husband shortly after his great victory at Carhae. A man that's successful is always a threat. You, on the other hand, the one who built the arsenal for that victory, were never seen as a threat. Just a useful accountant, a fatal mistake on their part. Your son, Heraios, is no longer a hostage prince. He is a king in his own right. Your investment of 50,000 sets of armor paid off. The Yuezhi, under his leadership, have consolidated all of Bactria, Sogdiana, and pushed south, deep into India. The Kushan Empire, the one he founded, is now the other great power of the world, a new colossus. And your husband's court has to treat him as an equal. And you? You are old. You are in your late 60s, maybe your 70s. You have no idea, and you don't care. You are no longer the Greek queen, a title that rings hollow and childish. You are not the widow of the steppes. You have a new, unofficial title, one whispered by merchants in a dozen languages from the Han border to the Euphrates. You are the Kina Isa, the mother of the roads. You are the single most respected and most feared arbiter of disputes on the entire Silk Road. You have outlived your husbands, your rivals, your tutors, and your enemies. You are the only person left alive who remembers how this entire, fragile, world-spanning system was built. Because you are the one who built it. This is the great mainstream historical fact of your time. The world is now held in a delicate balance between four great empires. The Romans in the west, the Han in the east, and in the middle, the two great middlemen who are becoming obscenely rich by controlling the flow. The Parthians, your husband's family, and the Kushans, your son's family. Your days are no longer spent in forges or map rooms. They are spent holding court, not the royal court, your court. A caravan comes in, not with a dispute for the king, but with a gift for the Kinaasa, which is code for a problem they need you to solve. Historians, by the way, still argue whether the Silk Road was a single, unified concept in the ancient mind, or just a series of thousands of local, disconnected trade routes that we later anachronistically named. You, sitting on your cushion, could tell them the truth. It was a mess. 1,000 disconnected, squabbling, greedy little routes, all held together by one single unifying principle: your word. Let's watch you work. A dispute, a Han silk merchant, a Sogdian middleman, and a Yuezhi Kushan tax collector are in your audience room. They are all shouting. The Han man is furious. He claims the Yuezhi official is charging him twice the agreed-upon tariff for his heavenly horses. The Yuezhi official claims the Han horses are not purebred Fergana stock, but a cheap knockoff, and thus fall under the miscellaneous livestock tariff, which is coincidentally much higher. The Sogdian who brokered the deal is just trying not to be murdered by either of them. This is a classic, a jurisdictional nightmare. The Han merchant is a guest of the Parthian court. The Yuezhi official is a subject of your son. The deal was made in Sogdian. It's a mess. You don't look at a law book. You are the law book. You sit there, a small old woman in a simple silk robe, and you just listen. You let them wind themselves down. Finally, you speak. Your voice is a dry rasp. The horses, you say, in the Sogdian dialect, are they for the emperor's personal guard or for the northern cavalry? The Han official is stunned. You know the difference. The northern guard, honored mother. Then you say they are war material. They are not livestock. And they are not a diplomatic gift. They are part of the Steel Pact. This is the name you've given your great caravan pact. It sounds impressive. You turn to the Yuezhi official. You are the grandson of Vima, are you not? He pales. He is. Your grandfather, you say, was given his power by me, the 50,000 spears, the steel that made your nation. That steel was Bactrian Greek steel, forged by my people, paid for by Parthian gold. This Han lord is here to buy the horses that will allow your nation, my son's nation, to buy 50,000 more spears. And you are holding up the entire deal because you are greedy. You are stopping the machine. You turn back to the Han official. And you are trying to pass off 500 horses as a personal gift to avoid the tariff. You are lying. You have, in 30 seconds, identified the precise transactional soul of everyone in the room. Here is what will happen, you say. The horses are war material. They fall under the Steel Pact. They will be taxed at the 15% arsenal rate, not the 5% diplomatic rate or the 30% livestock rate. The Han will pay, the Yuezhi will accept, and the Sogdian will get his 3% commission. And you add, you will all have dinner in my hall tonight, and you will thank each other for this mutually profitable venture. They bow. They are relieved. The crisis is over. The machine which you just reminded them you built continues to run. You are the living, breathing institutional memory of this entire world. The Oracle was right. You are the thread. You just never realized that uniting them didn't mean making them like each other. It meant making them need each other and making you the one who held all the strings. You are the mother of the roads. You are the immovable object, the unshakable foundation. And you are quite suddenly aware of your own bones. They ache. The mornings are colder than they used to be. You sit in your audience chamber, the one where you solve the dispute over the war material horses, and you look at the men who come to you. They are not the men you started with. They are not the hard-eyed warriors of Sapadbiz's Ordu. They are not the smug Philhellene courtiers of your husband's middle age. They are the grandsons, soft-handed, clever young men who have grown up in a world that works. They've never seen the chaos. They've never smelled a city burning. They've never had to build a proxy war out of ash and fear. They bring you their problems and you solve them, and they are grateful, but they do not understand. You look at your hands, at the papery skin, the blue rivers of your veins, and the realization hits you, not like a thunderclap, but like a slow, cold fog. This entire, vast, world-spanning machine of commerce and diplomacy, it's not made of steel and gold. It's made of you. The Steel Pact is not a document in a vault. It's a promise you made to a man who is now dead. The Sogdian network is not a corporation. It's a web of personal loyalties, blood feuds you've mediated, and families you have personally enriched or threatened. The peace between your son's Kushan Empire and your husband's Parthian one is not a treaty. It is a family dinner, and you are the only one who can still sit at the head of the table. When you die, all of this balance, dies with you. Your son, Hyraios, is a brilliant warrior king. But he is a king. He is not an accountant. He thinks in conquest. He does not understand the delicate, surgical, boring work of tax code maintenance and cargo insurance. Your husband's successor, whoever he is, will be a Parthian horse baron who will see your web of connections as a treasury to be looted, not a garden to be tended. The complex web of alliances will die with you. The work of your entire life will evaporate. This is the moment you decide to try and archive the unarchivable. You will write it down. You call for your scribes, not the Parthian court poets, not the Greek philosophers. You call for the accountants, the dry, humorless, ink-stained men from your Bactrian mint, the ones who truly understand the world. You will create your masterpiece, your bibliotheca, your life's work, the manual for how to run the world. You start to dictate, and for the first time in your life you fail. You try to explain. The tax on myrrh from the Sabian kingdom is 10% unless it arrives in a ship that has also docked in India, in which case it is 12%. Because Because why? Because the harbor master in Carax is married to a woman whose brother was cheated by an Indian spice merchant 20 years ago, and this is the only way to keep him from losing the cargo. How do you write that down? You try again. The Yuezhi-Kushan border is to be manned by the Ashi clan, your first husband is people, because they are the only ones the Han will respect. Why? Because the Han envoy, 3 decades ago, liked the specific, bossy way their chief poured wine. How do you codify a social slight? How do you turn a blood feud, an old friendship, a personal slight, a superstition, or a gut feeling into a law? You realize it's impossible. The system is not a set of rules. It is a set of exceptions. It is a living, breathing organism of human greed, fear, and memory. And you are its heart and its brain. This is the great mainstream historical fact that will puzzle scholars for 2,000 years. The great Middle Empires, the Parthians and the Kushans, will be virtual ghosts. We will have the histories of the Romans about them. We will have the histories of the Han about them. But from them, we will have nothing. No grand narratives, no Thucydides, no Sima Qian. Historians still argue with profound passion why this is. Was it cultural? Did they, as nomadic heirs, simply prefer an oral tradition? Was their literature all destroyed? You, sitting in your room, know the truth. The knowledge was too complex and too human to be written. It was a trade secret, and the trade secret was you. It could not be taught. It could only be lived. So, what do? You give up on the why. You abandon the meaning. And you focus on the proof. You remember the fire at Iconum. You remember the quirk of fate. The fire that destroyed the papyrus, saved the clay bulle. The receipts. You decide to create your own library of dust. You stop dictating history. You just archive the transactions. You order that every cargo manifest, every tax receipt, every clay seal from every treaty and every shipment be brought to you. You are no longer writing a book. You are building a database. You sit, an old woman, in a vast, dry room, surrounded by tens of thousands of little baked clay seals and scraps of parchment. Here is a receipt for 500 bolts of silk. Here is a custom seal from your son's court. Here is a Parthian tax stamp for Armenian wine. It is a library of facts, with none of the story. It is a skeleton, with no flesh. It is the only thing you can leave behind. It is the dust of your life's work, a vast, meaningless, and perfectly accurate record of a world that only you understood. And so, you die. It is not a dramatic event. There is no palace intrigue, no poison, no final whispered wisdom. It happens on a Tuesday, or perhaps a Thursday, in the dry season. You are in your library of dust, the vast, quiet storeroom that is your only real home now. You are holding a small, baked clay bulla in your palm. It's a custom seal from Iconum, from your father's time, a winged Nike poorly carved on a rough piece of clay. You are looking at the fingerprint of a long-dead, long-forgotten official, pressed into the clay over 70 years ago. You are the only person on earth who knows what it means. You are tired, your bones ache. You close your eyes just for a moment to rest, and you simply stop. Your death goes unrecorded by the great empires. This is the final, greatest historical fact. The Roman historians, obsessed with their own civil wars and the barbarism of the Parthians, never knew your name. To them, the East was just a place of silk, monsters, and effeminate kings. The Han chroniclers in their distant, magnificent capital would make a note. In the 3rd year of the Emperor X, trade with the Yuezhi was disrupted. They would blame the local officials or bad weather. They would never, ever know that the entire machine had just lost its chief engineer. Your burial is quiet. Your son, Harios, the great king of the Kushans, is 1,000 miles away conquering India. He will not hear of your death for 3 months, and when he does, he will mourn his Parthian mother and commission a statue of a Greek goddess to be placed in his new capital. A nice gesture. But he will not come. Your husband's grandsons, the new generation of Parthian nobility, are baffled. They give you a state funeral, of course. You are, after all, a queen. But they are secretly relieved. You were the old mother, the ancient, terrifying matriarch who knew everything, who held all the secrets, and whose disapproval was a political death sentence. They are free. And your library? Your archive of dust? The new king, a practical young man who loves horses, walks into the vast, dry room. He sees nothing. Not a system, not a web. He sees tens of thousands of old, useless, broken bits of pottery. He sees piles of brittle parchment written in languages he can't read. It's just junk. It's the receipt drawer of a dead empire. He doesn't understand the why. He doesn't see the blood, the fear, the handshakes, the threats, and the promises that connect every single piece. He orders it archived, which is a polite word for dumped in a basement. The archive is moved to an old, unused treasury building, and the door is sealed. And then the real sand comes, the dust of the world, the silt from the Tigris, the slow, patient, creeping desert. Your story is buried, not just by time, but by the very people who wrote history. The historians of Rome and China were writing grand, malicentric narratives of conquest, of armies, of emperors. They were not interested in a woman whose power came from logistics, from administration, from economics. That's not a story. That's just work. So, you are forgotten. This is the great, baffling scholarly debate that is your true legacy. For the next 2,000 years, historians will look at this period and see a blank, a dark age in the middle of the world. They will have the histories of Rome and Han, two bright lights and a massive, black, empty space in between. They will try to reconstruct the chronology. They will find coins like the ones your son Hyraios minted, with his face on them, but no name. Just the king. They will argue for centuries over who he was. Historians still argue with incredible passion over the problem of the Kushan chronology, trying to match up a handful of coins and a few inscriptions. They are arguing because you and your entire library were buried by the sand. Your quirky final legacy is just an absence. You are the thread that held the world together, and when you let go, the thread vanished. You are the forgotten archive, the mother of the roads buried as all roads eventually are, under the quiet, patient, shifting sands, waiting, perhaps, for someone to come digging. And now, the world you wove with such effort, the web of steel and silk, of threats and promises, has faded. The dust of your archive, that vast and silent library of transactions, has settled. The great empires of Rome and Han, the ones who never knew your name, have themselves crumbled. Their own magnificent cities now just ruins for us to puzzle over. Your son's kingdom, the mighty Kushan Empire, is a ghost, a name that only scholars now remember, a riddle of coins without a history. The great roaring noise of the Silk Road, the rumble of 10,000 caravans, the shouts of merchants in 100 languages, has fallen silent. All that is left is the dust, the soft, patient, yellow dust of Central Asia. It has covered the white stone of Iconium, the felt of the yurts, the mud brick of Ctesiphon. It has buried the story, protected it, kept it safe. It is the dust of all the things we have forgotten. And perhaps that is where all true stories end, not in the noise of grand histories, but in the quiet, soft, and final settling of the archive, as the last light is extinguished and the door is gently closed. The library is quiet now. The scrolls are still. The air is cool and calm, and the only sound is the one you are making. The soft, rhythmic sound of your own breathing as you drift, and as you fall, into that deep and restful place. The forgotten are, for tonight, remembered. And now, it is time for you to sleep.